Within an endless darkness in which he felt like he was eternally falling, Long Chen stared at the figure in front of him. He couldn't see it, but he could feel it. As he looked at this figure in the darkness, it also seemed to look back at him. "You trash." The same voice rang out. It was the same voice as Long Chen's, but it was icy, arrogant, and disdainful. It was like that of a god speaking down on him. "If I'm trash but you're suppressed by me, what does that make you?" Long Chen shook his head at that figure. After a moment, that figure said, "You're a hypocrite. You bind yourself with so-called morality and virtue. If it weren't for that, would this battle have ended like this? What can virtue and character do? Can they protect you? Can they protect the people that you want to protect? If you allowed me to control this body, the heavenly rainbow fairy wouldn't have died. What meaning does kindness have? The heavenly rainbow fairy died to protect the human race, but the final trace of her discarnate soul was destroyed at the hands of the human race. Ha, isn't that funny? Someone like you will sooner or later follow the same path as her. I won't let trash like you control this body. I will wrest control over this body from you and show you what it means to go on a rampage, what it means to sweep through all those who block you, what it means to follow me and prosper, but defy me and die." Long Chen didn't reply. He hadn't expected this. He had finally produced a heart devil, and it was growing stronger and stronger under the nourishment of the dark energy. This heart devil could control the dark energy. When he used the purgatory eyes, he was using that dark power. This time, he had lost control because of his complete rage at the Bloodkill Hall's treacherous ways. It left an opening in his will for his heart devil to erupt. If it hadn't been for the heavenly rainbow fairy waking him up, then under the control of his heart devil, Bai Shishir and the others would probably have died in his hands. This so-called heart devil was when two wills appeared in one person. It was an embodiment of a contradiction within a person. Many people who appeared strong on the outside actually felt inferior inside, so that toughness was just to cover up that feeling of inferiority. One part felt like they were omnipotent, the other part felt that they were useless. As these contradictory feelings arose, the heart devil would become the greatest blockade when attempting to advance realms. A heart devil indicated that a person's mental realm was no longer clear. There was no longer one. A fiend hiding deep within your soul that might come out and try to kill you at any moment was naturally terrifying. Long Chen had always thought that he acted as he thought and thus was protected from a heart devil. Unexpectedly, it really did appear. Furthermore, it was many times stronger than him. However, he didn't feel much fear. He just quietly looked at it without saying a word. "Why aren't you speaking? Are you afraid? You're too cowardly. You aren't fit to control this body," sneered that figure. "The first time you appeared should have been in the netherworld, right? When Xie Qianxian and I escaped purgatory, when we were definitely going to die, you appeared. But you were suppressed again by Evil Moon, correct?" said Long Chen calmly. "You knew." The voice rang out with a touch of surprise. "Of course I knew. Ever since I left purgatory, I felt a bit off. But I also wasn't able to figure out what exactly felt off. I actually thought I was influenced by the laws of purgatory, resulting in my mental state becoming a bit disordered, so I didn't mind it. Then in the final battle of the Martial Heaven continent, I used that dark energy and I sensed you. At the time, you didn't make any move. Later, I began testing using the dark energy through the 3 flower pupils. I deliberately acted very stupidly, continuously failing. Eventually, you simply couldn't keep watching that, so you worked together with me so that I could control the dark energy. This was your scheme. You wanted me to use more of the dark energy, giving you more chances to corrode my will. The reason my control over my emotions frayed is also due to your influence. When my mind is undisciplined, you take advantage to control my body. If I were to fall asleep just before, you would have become the master of this body. If it hadn't been for the heavenly rainbow fairy, you would have basically succeeded," said Long Chen, still as calm as ever. "That woman was meddlesome. Otherwise, I could have gone through the spatial gates and slaughtered the dark life forms of those domains. At that time I, Long Chen, would dominate the 10,000 races. Within heaven and earth, only I would reign supreme. Who would dare to resist me? There would no longer be a useless coward like you who suffers humiliation from all sides. You've practically humiliated the name of Long Chen. Raged that voice. So what if you subdue the 10,000 races? So what if you reign supreme? You are going to sacrifice my brothers for that? Are you an animal? Cursed Long Chen. Are those useless brothers and women of yours the slightest bit useful? They are only stumbling blocks to getting stronger. Without them you would be truly free. Only then can you reach the peak of the world as fast as possible. Now you are being a fool with them and you want to curse others. Raged that voice. In your eyes, are absolute power and supreme authority all that matters? When you stand at the peak, you will find that when you are happy, there is no one to share it with. When you are sad, there is no one to comfort you. All that people will feel toward you is fear. Is that what you wanted? Asked Long Chen. What a joke. True experts all want absolute power. As long as you have power, you can have anything you want. Don't share my joy? I'll kill you. Don't listen to my sorrows? I'll kill you. I am the master of the world. The 10,000 Daos must obey me. Who dares to not follow? Fuck off. I can't be bothered to talk to you. I am the master, you are a heart devil. You will always be suppressed by me. Do you think that I'm giving you face by talking to you? Raged Long Chen. Originally, he had been hoping to communicate with his heart devil and see if they could come to some resolution, but instead he was so infuriated he felt like he might explode. Bullshit. If it weren't for me, you would already be dead. Who do you think you are to act like some big wig? I am the master of the dark energy. If you have guts, then don't use my power for the rest of your lifetime. Otherwise, every time you use my power, it is my turn to control the body. Roared that figure, also infuriated. Then let's just see what happens. Yes, let's see. Long Chen suddenly sat up from his bed, so suddenly that Bai Xiaola and the others cried out. He was originally in a deep slumber, and he sat up so suddenly that they almost took out their weapons. Boss, what is it? Asked Qin Feng worriedly, seeing Long Chen's eyebrows pointed down angrily. I'm fine. It was a dream. I saw some idiot that pissed me off. Long Chen took a deep breath and flapped his hand, indicating that he was fine. This heart devil really irritated him. According to reason, a heart devil was another portion of his will. If it was part of him, he should be able to communicate with it. But this one conversation had made him want to kill it. Suddenly, one of Long Chen's tablets flashed. Long Chen's heart leaped. We are immediately returning to the vile dragon domain. After coming out of his private room, Long Chen saw thousands of immortal kings from the heavenly rainbow domain. They were all representatives of their sex that had participated in the battle, and they possessed their own backgrounds and statuses. Altogether, they represented almost the whole heavenly rainbow domain's core forces. When they saw that Long Chen was still wearing an eye patch, they sighed. In the battle, Long Chen had used a kind of pupil art to try to forcibly save the heavenly rainbow fairy. At that time, blood had flowed out of his eye, and it had even become covered in cracks. Clearly, that technique exceeded his limits. Hence, they thought that his eye was probably permanently damaged. Seeing that eye patch, they were all very grateful to him. It could be said that Long Chen had done his utmost to save the heavenly rainbow fairy. They had all witnessed him be willing to even throw his life away for her. Dean Long Chen, your injuries aren't fully healed yet. Why don't you stay a bit longer in the heavenly rainbow domain? Don't worry, whether it's the 9 Underworld Hall, the Bloodkill Hall, or any others, if they dare to come, we will fight to the death against them, said an elder. His aura was quite heavy. Moreover, others looked at him reverently. This person definitely possessed a certain authority within the heavenly rainbow domain. However, while his aura was terrifying, his blood chi had started to decline. He was already on a downhill path, and his longevity was about to run out. If Long Chen's guess was correct, he was an Earth-tier immortal king, a figure on the level of a living fossil. Senior is too courteous. The heavenly rainbow fairy gave me her favor first and then even lent a helping hand to me. But I could only watch as she died. I feel terrible, said Long Chen apologetically. Despite everything, he still felt very guilty over her death. He felt like he had a responsibility. The heavenly rainbow fairy will never die. As long as we reconstruct her divine statue and worship her every day, she will return, said that elder confidently. He was clearly a devout follower of the heavenly rainbow fairy. Long Chen sighed inside. He couldn't bear to tell them that the heavenly rainbow fairy was gone forever. She would never be back. It was just as she said. The snow was still snow, but was this year's snow the same as yesterday's snow? However, her words also contained the grandeur of a wise sage. Although she was no longer present, her teachings would remain and continue to be passed down from generation to generation. Perhaps when the new snow fell, it would continue to be sacred and holy. Could that new snow take her place? Looking at these elders, Long Chen suddenly felt like he somehow understood the true meaning of her words. He felt even greater reverence for her now. You are right. As long as you still have her in your heart, the heavenly rainbow fairy will definitely return. Long Chen nodded. Hearing that, the heavenly rainbow domain's experts were very happy. It was unacceptable for others to question their firm belief. Long Chen, we will all testify for you that the rumor of you being an underworld ghost seed is simply slander. Anyone who questions you will be viewed as our enemy. Someone that the heavenly rainbow fairy chose couldn't possibly be an underworld ghost seed. By suspecting you, they are suspecting the heavenly rainbow fairy. We won't allow such a thing, said that elder solemnly. Previously, the matter of the underworld ghost seed had caused quite a few turbulent waves, making people nervous. After all, how could they determine the truth? With the powers like the 9 Underworld Hall and the Bloodkill Hall pushing the rumor on, it had quite the effect. Through an investigation, it was found that this rumor was started by the Yuhua Palace's Jiang Weizhong. Although Jiang Weizhong was already dead, once a rumor spread, it was like wildfire. Starting a rumor was easy, but putting it out was difficult. Most troublesome of all was that Long Chen had used the power of the purgatory eyes here in the heavenly rainbow domain. That terrifying destructive power was very similar to the sinister energy of the dark life forms. It was very easy for people to question him. Thankfully, the heavenly rainbow domain had started the process of refuting this rumor. Anyone who dared to spread it would be executed. But this rumor had long since spread to other domains. The heavenly rainbow domain's experts could only testify for Long Chen, but they had no actual proof. Just the attitude of the heavenly rainbow fairy toward Long Chen was not enough. Long Chen smiled. Seniors have been troubled. There's no need to mind those rumors. I have never cared about such things. If others believe those rumors and attack me, then I never care whether their intentions are good or bad. I will still kill them all. I am unable to embody the kindness of the heavenly rainbow fairy that forgives even people who harm her, and I have never wanted to become some virtuous sage. Anyone who tries to take my life, I will cut them down mercilessly. Seniors, please don't waste your effort on those rumors. If you have the extra time, properly raise your disciples. This world's era of peace is probably about to end. We cannot always hope for others to protect us. We must be strong ourselves in order to survive. Everyone nodded. This time, the battle that had occurred here was extremely odd, so odd that it made people uneasy. Long Chen knew Yen Su, and he knew Lord Brahma's power. But not everyone knew so many secrets. Long Chen could only warn them, but not tell them too much to avoid some unexpected karma befalling them. The heavenly rainbow domain's experts wanted him to stay longer, but Long Chen tactfully refused. They then brought him to the plaza. The statue had been destroyed, but craftsmen were working on rebuilding it. Long Chen then came to the same place he had gone before and bowed deeply. It was a kind of goodbye. After that, all the heavenly rainbow domain's experts sent him off. They provided him with a luxurious flying boat. Originally, Long Chen tried to refuse them, but they refused to let him leave without it. In order to make sure that he was safe, they even put up fake information of him leaving in 5 different directions, while he actually left through a secret passage. Long Chen had been unconscious for 3 days. During these 3 days, the matter of this immense battle had rapidly spread. This was a huge affair that drew countless people's attention. But the most shocking thing was how Long Chen had killed those dark life forms and displayed such shocking combat power. The most worrisome thing to the Heavenly Rainbow Domain's experts was that Long Chen had declared that he would destroy the 9 Underworld Hall and the Bloodkill Hall. He had even declared war on Lord Brahma. Those were existences that shook countless old monsters. Long Chen was instantly pushed into the most dangerous position. Furthermore, the rumor of him being an underworld ghost seed also drew the attention of countless monsters. That was why the Heavenly Rainbow Domain's experts went to such great pains to keep where he was going a secret. Long Chen, do you hate me? If you want to curse me, then curse me. Within the flying boat, Bai Shirshir's pretty face was red. She lowered her head, her tears falling like a pearl necklace that was cut. Long Chen was startled. He hadn't expected Bai Shirshir to suddenly say such a thing. Bai Xiaola and the others were also surprised. But Qin Feng quickly dragged Bai Xiaola and the others away, leaving only Long Chen and Bai Shirshir in this room. What are you talking about? Why would I hate you? Asked Long Chen, feeling puzzled. You told me to save my energy so that I could save you at a critical time, but here, Bai Shirshir was too choked up to even continue speaking. During the days that Long Chen was unconscious, Long Chen's eye would occasionally have fresh blood flow out of it. No one was capable of stopping it. When the experts of the Heavenly Rainbow Domain said that Long Chen would probably lose this eye, her heart fractured. If she hadn't been so willful at the time and had conserved her power, then with the golden sword's sharpness, she would have been able to save Long Chen at that crucial moment. However, due to her anger, she had ended up wasting her precious energy to hunt down her enemies, leaving her powerless to save Long Chen from those chains. If Long Chen's eye really was permanently damaged, she didn't know what she would do. She had never felt such regret in her life. Long Chen was speechless. He had never seen her cry so much, so he wiped away her tears. Does that have anything to do with you? You already did great. When I asked for your help, you came right on time. As for the Bloodkill Hall's formation, it was outside of expectations. Neither of us can see the future, so don't cry. No one could do anything about this unexpected trap. You really don't blame me? Bai Shirshir looked at Long Chen curiously. Of course not. Why would I blame you? Asked Long Chen, feeling that it was funny. If it was me, I would blame you because you didn't listen, said Bai Shirshir. For a moment, Long Chen didn't know how to reply. He truly had never blamed her. At that time, even he had thought that the most critical moment had passed. For Bai Shirshir to go all out was correct. As for the Bloodkill Hall's attack, even he wasn't prepared for it. How could he blame others for it? You didn't speak to me this entire time and just looked out the window. You say that you don't blame me, but you definitely hate me inside, said Bai Shirshir. Long Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. With no one else around, he had her sit. Seeing her crying, he sighed. Why are you sighing? Bai Shirshir looked at Long Chen with red eyes. Because looking at you cry, I feel like I've committed a sin, said Long Chen. Why? Probed Bai Shirshir. Just now, when I was looking out the window, I was thinking of her. When he was mentioned, Bai Shirshir lowered her head. After a moment, she said, She really is beautiful. Bai Shirshir had always been confident in her looks. Although she didn't dare to say that she was unrivaled beneath the heavens, amongst all the women that she knew, she was unmatched. This wasn't something that she was arrogant about, but she was quite confident in her looks. Yu Qingxian was the first woman who could be compared to her in looks. Furthermore, she appeared warm and kind. Compared to Bai Shirshir's cold, aloof, and somewhat domineering character, Yu Qingxian was a completely different existence. Furthermore, Bai Shirshir also knew that her character wasn't one that others liked. She had never cared before, but now that Long Chen brought her up, she felt inferior. When it comes to looks, she might be able to reach you. But you don't know the story between her and me. If you don't mind me being long-winded, I wish to share this story with you, said Long Chen softly. Hearing that, Bai Shirshir wiped away her tears and nodded. She truly did want to know. Qin Feng and Qiyu also knew that woman, but when she privately asked them about her, the two refused to answer, telling her that she had to find their boss for answers. Long Chen looked out at the scenery speeding by outside the window. He slowly told Bai Shirshir how he had first met Yu Qingxian. He told her about how he had snuck his way into Pill Valley, how they had encountered Wan Qing, and how when his identity was revealed, Yu Qingxian gave him her own status plate to help him escape. He told her everything relating to Yu Qingxian, other than his identity as a 9-star heir. No wonder I had a strange feeling when I first saw you. I've already fallen in love with you for 1,000 reincarnations. Every time, I would die like this in front of you. These 1,000 reincarnations are all to wake you up from the red dust. But this time, I know that I won't have to reincarnate again. I can feel that you've already awakened. In every reincarnation, I am unable to awaken my memories while alive. It is only before my death that I can remember. Longchen, I've loved you for 1,000 lifetimes. You must find me. In life or death, you must find me. When Longchen told her about the final battle of the Martial Heaven continent and how Yu Qingxian had fallen in front of him, when he repeated her final words to him, Longchen himself couldn't stop his tears. Bai Shishir was already weeping. Only now did she learn that Yu Qingxian and Longchen had such a tragic history. It was no wonder that he would be so emotional to see her again. It's not just Qingxian. There are also Meng Qi, Chu Yao, Waner, Jiqiu, Shaoqian, Mingyu, Yuan, Tsangyu. Every single one of them loves me deeply. Even if I were to tear my body apart, I could not repay their feelings for me. Even 1,000 lifetimes wouldn't be enough to repay them. Which woman is willing to share their lover with others? But for me, they are willing to make this sacrifice. So after entering the immortal world, I have no intention of sowing wild oats. I don't want to hurt any of them. Longchen looked at Bai Shishir with a complicated expression. Although he had been very careful from Bai Shishir's attitude, he would be an idiot if he couldn't see certain things. Furthermore, Bai Shishir had also kept a certain distance from him from the start, not wanting a romantic relationship to develop. But love was something that couldn't be decided logically. It was like a seed filled with magical power. No matter how you monitored it, no matter how you controlled it, one slip-up and it would sprout. Today, Longchen confessed to Bai Shishir, telling her that he had many lovers. What Bai Shishir wanted he couldn't give her. What are you talking about? Are you trying to pull me into your group? Bai Shishir bit her lips. She didn't even dare to look at Longchen right now. Well, the main thing isn't whether or not you are willing to join, but whether or not you can be managed, said Longchen awkwardly. Do you think that you're very rare? You think that I would fall for you? Bai Shishir suddenly stood up, stepping on Longchen's foot hard, and ran off. Longchen bitterly smiled. Bai Shishir didn't answer, not agreeing or disagreeing. She was still unfathomable. But for a prideful woman like Bai Shishir to follow him like that was probably very difficult. Bai Shishir would perhaps be more suited to having a brotherly relationship. But was there really such a pure relationship between men and women in this world? That was difficult to say. Boss, the vile dragon domain is up ahead. Qin Feng's voice rang out. Hearing this, Longchen was instantly invigorated. Excellent. I can finally formally take up the position of the Dean of the High Firmament Academy's 7th branch. Favorite. When they got close to the vile dragon domain, they activated the flying boat's camouflage system. This was an extremely high-grade flying boat with many abilities that would make others sigh over it. Camouflage was one of its abilities. However, this wasn't truly hiding but was simply flying silently while covering up any aura. It would then reflect the surrounding scenery. Without looking closely, it would seem as if the flying boat was merged with heaven and earth. However, this also greatly reduced the flying speed. But Longchen wasn't in a rush. It just so happened that he needed some time. But Longchen's aura suddenly began to rise. Qin Feng and the others jumped in shock and hastily activated the flying boat's formations for him. After that, a rumbling rang out within the flying boat. Longchen's aura poured out as if it had escaped a dam. No matter how Longchen tried to control it, he couldn't stop it. He had advanced to the 4th heaven stage of the Four-Peak realm. It had to be known that he had just entered the 3rd heaven stage when he arrived in the heavenly rainbow domain. Now in just a few days, he reached the 4th heaven stage. This speed was truly shocking. The 4th heaven stage was also the mid-stage. This time, his aura grew immensely. His physical body was also strengthened, as well as the flames of his 108,000 stars. His aura only stabilized after a full 2 hours. Long Chen then took a deep breath. If he had fully unleashed his aura in the flying boat, it would have exploded. Fortunately, this flying boat was strong enough that his aura didn't leak and disturb the surrounding life forms. If Boss had reached the mid-stage in the heavenly rainbow domain, it would have been much easier, said Su Zixiong. Long Chen shook his head. Even if I had reached the mid-stage, that battle wouldn't have gone any differently. Everything was arranged before our arrival. He understood Su Zixiong's meaning, but he knew that even if he had been in the mid-stage, he would not have the power to reverse the tides. Yen Su treated the heavenly rainbow fairy as a must-have, and Long Chen couldn't stop such a terrifying existence. However, the reason why Yen Su had devoured the heavenly rainbow fairy but not the heavenly rainbow flame was unknown. Long Chen's only guess was that it might be related to faith energy, or perhaps the heavenly rainbow fairy had something else that Yen Su urgently needed. Although Yen Su had only appeared through the void, its power had caused the 10,000 Daos to collapse. That terrifying power deeply shook Long Chen. That was the most terrifying power he had ever seen before. Yen Su hadn't been targeting him, but a single thought from it could destroy him, or perhaps destroy the entire heavenly rainbow domain. However, it hadn't done so. That gave off the stench of a scheme. But for now, Long Chen couldn't figure it out. The flying boat slowly advanced. Long Chen also consolidated his aura, adapting to his new power as fast as possible. Boss, what are we doing back in the Vile Dragon domain? Asked Chiyu. Bai Shishir had returned to her previous iciness. She sat beside the window with her eyes closed. No one knew what she was thinking, but she seemed to have forgotten their previous awkwardness. Seeing that, Long Chen was relieved. He said, "Naturally, it's to ignite the Divine Tower and restore the 7th Branch Academy. Last time, I managed to imprint the Divine Rune on the foundation stone. As for the altar in Xiaoming Ancient City, while they burn the altar, the energy stones activate and their energy will then be absorbed by the Divine Rune. The Divine Rune has already germinated within the foundation stone. During this time, Jiang Yuhe and the others have followed their promise. People have been working every day to activate the foundation stone, so it's already awakened. All that's left is to place the Divine Tower on the foundation stone and it will ignite. Then everything will be done." Hearing this explanation, everyone came to understand Long Chen's plan. He had made his calculations long in advance. "Are you not worried about them breaking the altar or doing something to it?" asked Bai Shishir suddenly. Seeing Bai Shishir looking at him as if nothing had happened between them, Long Chen's expression was a bit odd. He laughed. "Of course I'm not afraid. The altar itself isn't a problem. They can investigate it as they please as the energy stones aren't in it. Burning the altar activates the formation inside of it, which then activates the energy stones through space. Even if people find that the altar is strange, they definitely can't find the energy stones. So, even if it had been a failure, there would have been no loss. Furthermore, that formation was extremely crude. It looks just like something a fool did to mess around. They can study it all they want without finding any clues." "Boss is wise." Qin Feng laughed delightedly. Long Chen really did make things airtight when he handled things. "Don't be in a rush to flatter me. Although things have been arranged well, I have no assurance at all that it can succeed. That devil eye water lily definitely went insane after what happened last time. It knows that we might come back, so it probably has some special defenses waiting for us," said Long Chen. The flying boat slowly flew over Vile Dragon Valley. Everything was as it had been here, as if nothing had ever happened. But it was precisely due to this that people started to have bad feelings. Past the Vile Dragon Valley was the gloomy forest. To be safe, Long Chen had everyone consume an aura-concealing pill to further keep themselves hidden. "Boss, why don't we put away the flying boat and walk there? That might be a safer choice," suggested by Xiaola. This flying boat was gigantic, and even the camouflage system couldn't guarantee it would not be sensed. "You're wrong. Whether it is Vile Dragon Valley or that sinister forest, everything is under their surveillance. Anyone who enters will immediately be sensed. The undying race's intelligence isn't high, and they have one-track minds. They definitely think that we will follow our old path, said Long Chen. After being in contact with Lu Ruyan for so long, although she had never been friendly with him, he could tell what kind of character she had. She was essentially someone who had never used their brain, or perhaps it should be said that she could not come at things from a different angle. The one time that he had called her wood-brained, she had almost killed him. Thus, Long Chen had a general understanding of the undying race, and he was sure that the Devil-Eye Water Lily was just as wood-brained. Otherwise, it wouldn't have allowed Long Chen to cut off its seed pod. The flying boat gradually slowed down, and they quickly reached the crater where that ancient corpse was buried. They could see through the flying boat's formation. All of a sudden, Long Chen and the others gasped. At the edge of that crater were countless black dragons patrolling through the dark. They were like vipers waiting for prey, and not the slightest aura leaked out of them. Within the pool, the Devil-Eye Water Lily appeared rather listless without its seed pod. Long Chen then saw several dark figures down in the pool, but he didn't dare to probe them spiritually for fear of being sensed. Clearly, the Devil-Eye Water Lily had found reinforcements. It was probably still thinking of regaining its seed pod. Long Chen already had Jiang Yuhe and the others spread the word that they were going to reclaim the ruins. The Devil-Eye Water Lily definitely believed those rumors, which was why it was patiently waiting. It's like I dug my own grave this time. Long Chen felt helpless. Those rumors he had spread were originally just for tricking his enemies. But the Devil-Eye Water Lily actually took it seriously. Now it might be troublesome. The surroundings were filled with tens of thousands of black dragons. But Long Chen couldn't retreat. He slowly sent the flying boat toward the foundation stone. Long Chen didn't dare to look at those creatures in the pool. No matter what, they were definitely more terrifying than the Devil-Eye Water Lily. They were just waiting for him to take the bait. However, having reached this point, Long Chen couldn't possibly give up. He slowly approached his target. The flying boat was moving as slowly as possible to avoid making any waves. On the edge of their seats, the flying boat slowly descended to the foundation stone without drawing the attention of the Devil-Eye Water Lily. Long Chen then took out a fist-sized tower with 9 levels. Clenching his teeth, he placed it on the foundation stone. When the tower and foundation stone were connected, divine light erupted, filling this hole. After that, this dark world became as bright as daytime. As a result, countless roars rang out and this valley boiled over. Huge dragons then filled the entrance, sealing the space. A rumbling rang out at this moment as Devil-Eye Water Lilies popped out of the pool. Other than the original one, there were now 4 more. Their auras were more terrifying than the original Devil-Eye Water Lily. Their leaves then spread, filling heaven and earth. Their explosive killing intent and divine sense swept through the valley. After activating the divine tower, Long Chen sent the flying boat into the pool of water and hid their aura. This was a typical case of it being the darkest beneath the light. Those Devil-Eye Water Lilies swept their divine sense out repeatedly but were unable to find anything. At this moment, Bai Shishir and the others were holding their breaths. Those Devil-Eye Water Lilies were probably the seniors of their race. Their divine sense caused the void to rumble, and the sound made them quiver. If they were noticed, not even 10,000 lives would be enough to escape the calamity. Huge dragons roared and circled the heavens, overlooking this entire space. But they were unable to find their target. They were dumbfounded. How had their target vanished? After a bit, Long Chen's heart leaped. We've been noticed. Long Chen hastily sent the boat flying out of the pool. Just as they flew out, the pool exploded. The rear of the flying boat was struck by water arrows, sending it tumbling through the air. Boom! The flying boat was exposed and 5 sets of leaves wrapped around it. In that instant, the flying boat was completely caught. Space twisted. Long Chen and the others seemed to arrive in a completely different world. In this world, they were as weak as ants. Boom! The flying boat was torn apart, revealing Long Chen and the others. At this moment, threads targeted Long Chen like steel needles. Bai Shishir and the others instantly found themselves unable to move an inch. They felt all their power be stripped from their bodies. "Do you still want your lily seeds?" shouted Long Chen. With this shout, the countless threads stabbing toward Long Chen came to a stop right in front of his face. The threads stopped, but a whistling wind blew by, to the point that Long Chen's skin was about to break apart. This energy was absolutely terrifying. The helpers that the Devil Eye Water Lily had summoned were too terrifying. Hand over the seed pod. Otherwise, you'll beg for death and not receive it, said a sinister voice through spiritual fluctuations. These fluctuations were very familiar. They were from the original Devil Eye Water Lily. Clearly, it still had some hope. The undying race truly did have low intelligence. Even the fact that Bai Shishir had refined the metal lily seed wasn't sensed by it. If you want me to hand over the seed pod, all right. But you have to agree to one of my conditions, shouted Long Chen. You have no qualifications to demand conditions. Hand it over or die, roared the Devil Eye Water Lily. It was quite tough to negotiate like this. It had the same temper as Lu Ruyan. Long Chen then said, if I hand it over, will you let us leave? No. You must die, declared the Devil Eye Water Lily furiously. HM? Are you an idiot? You'll kill if it's handed over, and you'll kill if it's not handed over. What's the point of such a threat? Are the undying race all so stupid? Just how are we supposed to discuss anything? Let's just discuss this. I will dash, Long Chen smiled. Shut up, treacherous human race. If you won't hand it over, then die. Boom. The Devil Eye Water Lily's temper was very explosive. It actually didn't give Long Chen a chance to speak. Those threads continued to stab toward them. Encountering this fool made Long Chen want to curse. He had been trying to stall for time, but there was no communicating with this fool. It was going to use its tentacles to control them. Unable to move his body, Long Chen was about to unleash the black soil of the primal chaos space again. However, whether or not it would be effective again this time was up to luck. Boom. However, before Long Chen could make his move, the space that they were in exploded. They felt their bodies lighten, and the bindings around them vanished in an instant. After that, Long Chen saw a pair of eyes that covered the dome of the heavens. It was the 3 flower pupils. Mom! Bai Xiaola cried out delightedly. Only then did Long Chen and the others realize that they were in the tower. It was burning with divine light. The divine tower has finally been ignited. Our lives are saved. Long Chen wiped off some sweat. Their reinforcements had arrived. A rumbling rang out. As that pair of eyes stared down from the heavens, the world shuddered. After that, the 5 Devil Eye Water Lilies glowed, their leaves growing explosively and their undying qi erupting. Rays of divine light fell from them like swords. Boom. The pair of eyes in the sky then exploded and a figure appeared in front of Long Chen and the others. It was Bai Xiaola's mother. Just then, the 5 Devil Eye Water Lilies attacked at the same time. Millions of rays of divine light shot toward the tower. Boom. At this moment, a resplendent golden light exploded. An ancient, rusty sword scabbard had appeared, and it shattered the combined attacks of all 5 Devil Eye Water Lilies. The scabbard was in the hand of a long-haired man. It was Bai Xiaola and Bai Shishir's father, Bai Zhantan. This should be the scabbard of the High Firmament Divine Sword. As expected, they aren't divine lords. They are all immortal kings. Thought Long Chen. Human race, you are courting death. The Devil Eye Water Lilies roared furiously, their bodies growing explosively. Terrifying spatial cracks then appeared around them. As endless undying qi poured out of the cracks, the 5 Devil Eye Water Lilies grew so large that they covered up the stars. Boom. With the 5 of them attacking at once, 5 rays of divine light descended from the heavens. Every single one of those attacks contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. Let alone being struck, even the shockwaves were so powerful that Long Chen felt like he would be instantly wiped out. This was the true power of the Devil Eye Water Lilies. The next moment, space shuddered and one figure after another appeared. 36 elders had come out of the void. They sat in the air, forming hand seals. The 36 of them then glowed, and all their auras poured in one direction, into the scabbard in Bai Zhantang's hand. The scabbard glowed and countless ancient runes lit up on it. After that, an ancient desolate aura erupted, forming a light barrier. The 5 devil eye water lilies' attacks could destroy stars, but they shattered on contact with that barrier, unable to shake it in the slightest. It seems that it really is the scabbard of the high firmament divine sword. Long Chen stared closely at it. This was a priceless treasure with a deep background and history. Back then, after Imputa's clone had descended, the dean used this scabbard to drive him away. Imputa was so terrified of it at that time. Since Bai Zhantong had brought it out as well, clearly, the High Firmament Academy was set on reclaiming the 7th Branch Academy. Furthermore, the Academy had also sent 36 Immortal King Elders as reinforcements. They activated the scabbard with their combined forces, summoning an indestructible defensive domain. With this, the High Firmament Academy finally revealed its terrifying foundation. Damnable human race, you've invaded our territory. Are you declaring war on the undying race? A furious roar rang out, but it was unknown from which devil eye water lily it came. Can the devil eye water lilies represent the entire undying race? You're overestimating yourselves, no? Furthermore, this place was originally the territory of the High Firmament Academy's 7th Branch Academy. When did it become your territory? Sneered Bai Zhantong. We've occupied this place for tens of millions of years. It is ours. Roared that devil eye water lily. The human race has lived here for 1 trillion years. For you to forcibly occupy it for so long, it's already nice of us to not charge you rent. Now you have the gall to refuse your eviction? Did we give you too much face? Starting today, the High Firmament Academy is formally taking back its land. You can scram. Bai Zhantong sneered at them mockingly with the scabbard in hand. Since you want to die, we'll accompany you. That devil eye water lily roared furiously. In its fury, its leaves transformed into a giant hand. As a result, the giant spatial cracks behind them were torn even bigger. Endless black chi poured out from the other side of those cracks. At the same time, the black dragons flew crazily toward Bai Zhantong. Those black dragons exploded upon contact with the barrier. However, after dying, their black blood tainted the barrier, turning into corrosive runes. They want to use the power of dragon blood to ignite their undying chi and demolish the formation. Quite vicious. Long Chen was startled. The aura of the undying world possesses a strong destructive power. Moreover, this place has an ancient corpse. They have merged their power with the death chi of the corpse to fight us. At some point, Bai Shirshir's mother had appeared beside them, but she wasn't the slightest bit worried. Mom, you're all immortal kings? Bai Shirshir looked at her mother in disbelief. They had concealed themselves for so long. You've done well. Your metal energy is even purer now, and you've obtained a divine weapon. Even a spirit-tier immortal king isn't a match for you, said Bai Shirshir's mother with praise. Bai Shirshir had given her a pleasant surprise this time. That sword in particular made even her heart shudder. After leaving her side, her daughter had grown so much. Just then, more and more specks of corroding rust appeared on the barrier. Long Chen couldn't help asking, Senior, is there no defense against this dragon blood corrosion? Long Chen saw that those spots of rust remained and even seemed to be spreading. He couldn't help being worried. The death chi within them was truly frightening. The corpse poison of that ancient corpse lies underground, and they have drawn it out. It is something that even the scabbard of the High Firmament Divine Sword cannot expel, said Bai Shirshir's mother. Then what can be done? Asked Bai Shirshir. It had to be known that they had risked their lives to reclaim these ruins. If they were to lose them, it would be an absolute waste. Don't worry. Our reinforcements are almost here. Bai Shirshir's mother smiled. Just as she said this, rainbows appeared in the air one by one. The rainbow cranes. Bai Shirshir cried out in delight. The rainbows appeared to be between illusory and reality. The rainbow cranes had actually come here. As they appeared, this gloomy world brightened, and the aura of death and decay slowly dispersed. An auspicious chi gradually spread as the rainbow cranes danced. The rainbow cranes moved beautifully through the air, just like the dance of the fairies. A peaceful air then settled over the world. This ominous land instantly became a blessed land due to their appearance. The rainbow cranes were the favorites of heaven and earth. They carried an auspicious halo wherever they went that drove away all the dark energy of heaven and earth. Hence, dark chi was driven away and warm sunlight fell from the heavens. This land of death was revived. The ground was originally barren, but all kinds of greenery sprouted out of that dead ground now. The sinister forest in the surroundings withered and fresh greenery replaced it. Even the spatial cracks slowly closed. Bastards! Just wait, you have offended the great devil-eye water lily race. When we step into the immortal world next time, we will definitely make rivers of your blood flow. The devil-eye water lily roared, but its roar was rather powerless. That was because they were hiding within the spatial cracks. When the spatial cracks finally closed, they were gone. Big Brother Long Chen. Suddenly, one of those rainbow cranes transformed into a girl and fell into Long Chen's embrace. She was the girl that had given him the original true feather. Little Yue, it's all thanks to you this time. Long Chen hugged her. Looking at her childish face, he couldn't help smiling and praising her. The rainbow crane race's power was truly unfathomable. If he hadn't personally witnessed it, he wouldn't believe it. They didn't have powerful combat power. Instead, they possessed a natural auspicious chi that could revitalize even lands of death. Big Brother Long Chen, did you miss Little Yue? Little Yue looked up into Long Chen's eyes, her pure eyes filled with excitement. Of course I missed you. Big Brother is doing his best to create a peaceful world. Once Big Brother settles the 9 heavens and 10 lands, Big Brother will accompany you to play every day, said Long Chen. The picture he painted made Little Yue very happy. She was still a child and very pure, so she believed whatever other people told her. Big Brother Long Chen, Little Yue is tired. I want to sleep. When I wake up, I'll come to find you. Little Yue's black and white eyes clearly contained a trace of weariness now. She yawned. Only now did Long Chen realize that expelling the dark aura from this place had used up the core energy of the rainbow cranes. He immediately comforted her, promising to accompany her once she woke up. Little Yue happily nodded and transformed back into a crane. She then flew around Long Chen a few times before leaving together with the other rainbow cranes. The devil-eye water lilies had fled and the rainbow cranes had also left. Now, Bai Zhantong put away the high firmament divine sword scabbard and came up to Long Chen. Looking him up and down, he nodded. Little fellow, not bad. You're not lacking either. Long Chen smiled slightly. Haha. These old immortal kings couldn't help laughing when they heard Long Chen's response. Little crane. Bai Zhantong praised Long Chen, and Long Chen also praised Bai Zhanta. But Long Chen's praise was rather inappropriate. Long Chen, you are the first to dare to talk like that to the deputy palace master, said one of the elders with a smile. Bai Xiaola irritably said, this doesn't count for anything. Boss has even beaten Dash. Bai Zhantong hastily interrupted him. Cough, now isn't the time to chat. Old you, hurry and activate the formation. We need to stabilize the spatial channel and fully connect the foundation stone with the headquarters. We have to prepare everything before Lord Brahma senses it. These people were all his subordinates, so he definitely didn't want Bai Xiaola to announce that Long Chen had beaten his head before. He immediately gave out orders to get to work. Long Chen was startled. These people weren't from the academy. They were from the Battle God Palace. Furthermore, this was Long Chen's first time hearing that Bai Zhantong wasn't the palace master of the Battle God Palace but the deputy palace master. Then there had to be an even more terrifying palace master above him. Bai Zhantong's aura was finally revealed today. The aura of an immortal king filled the air. With this immense pressure, combined with the merger of his qi and the Tao, Long Chen estimated that he was an earth-tier immortal king, or perhaps even a heaven-tier immortal king. If he was just the deputy palace master, then wasn't the actual master possibly in existence on the level of a world king? The High Firmament Academy had hidden itself a bit too deeply, no? These 36 immortal kings immediately got to work. They took out some ancient stone pillars covered in runes and inserted them around the foundation stone. As a result, the barrier in the air strengthened. The black chi covering the sky had been expelled. Although their surroundings were still in ruins, with the help of the rainbow cranes, vitality had been restored to this land. It was like the coming of spring, full of hope for the future. Seeing everyone get to work, Long Chen also ran over. He grabbed the dragon corpses that had been crushed into masses of pulp. However, Long Chen didn't mind. He directly tossed those pieces of pulp into the primal chaos space's black soil. Bai Shishir, Bai Xiaole, Qin Feng, Qi Yu, and Su Zixiong came over to help as well. Of course, they weren't after the broken flesh. They simply took out the cores first. Over 10,000 black dragons had thrown themselves at the barrier. Long Chen wasn't picky. He even tossed the blood water and muddy earth into the primal chaos space. The battlefield was quickly cleaned up. Long Chen had even stripped off a layer from the earth, leaving it fresh and clean. There wasn't the slightest speck of blood remaining. While Long Chen finished cleaning up, the Immortal Kings also finished setting up 36,000 stone pillars, placing them in various locations around the foundation stone. As they were inserted into the ground, the giant hole slowly rose out of the ground until it was a formation of protruding platforms. There seemed to be a marvelous connection between the platforms. This is the original landform of the 7th Branch Academy. Now that it's been restored, the High Firmament Academy will finally soar once more. Bai Zhantong looked at this new scenery emotionally. Tens of millions of years of patience. The dream of countless seniors of the Academy has finally been realized. Long Chen, you have done something huge for the Academy. Bai Shishir's mother was also emotional. She looked at Long Chen with praise. This impossible mission had been accomplished by Long Chen. The High Firmament Academy was under the surveillance of Lord Brahma, so countless powers were keeping an eye on every single one of their moves. Anything that they did would draw the attention of their enemies. The Academy had given this mission to Long Chen as they had no other choice. If the Academy had revealed their intention ahead of time, they would have to deal with the interference of countless experts. But the deadlock that the Academy had been in for years was broken by Long Chen. This one move from Long Chen could definitely enter the annals of great contributions of the Academy. Bai Shishir and her mother had already talked, so the latter was now aware of everything that had happened. Long Chen possessed both daring and the wits to accomplish what he dared to do. He avoided other people's eyes, mixing what was false and true, pretending to go east while going west. It could be said that he had gone far and above everyone's expectations. However, in the end, this mission was only accomplished at great risk to all their lives. Any mishap in the middle would have caused them to be buried here. We mainly depended on your unmarried daughter's precious sword, said Long Chen teasingly. This was the truth. If Bai Shishir had not cut off the Devil Eye Water Lily seed pod, they definitely would have lost their lives. Bai Shishir glared at him but didn't say anything. Bai Xiaole grumbled, I also contributed. That's true. Xiaole did outstanding this time. He is capable of standing on his own feet now, said Long Chen with a smile. He very much approved of Bai Xiaole's growth. From the Xiaole that didn't have any combat experience at all, in just a few months, he had progressed to the point of being able to face powerful enemies without any unsteadiness. That was already very impressive. After all, this was a child whose mental state was not as steady. There was no way Long Chen could judge him according to the standards of the Dragon Blood Warriors. Xiaole and Zixiong have both made great improvements. It can be said that our success this time was mostly thanks to luck, but the rest was thanks to everyone's efforts. Long Chen couldn't possibly just praise Bai Xiaole. Although Su Zixiong was rather foolish and had an inferiority complex, in truth, it was just because he had always been comparing himself to Qi Yu and Qin Feng. Of course, he couldn't compare to them, so Long Chen had to take his feelings into account as well. As expected, Su Zixiong smiled when he heard this. Qin Feng patted him on the shoulder as encouragement. In truth, Su Zixiong was already very outstanding. He simply was unaware of it while comparing himself to them. I've troubled you to keep Xiaole by your side. Bai Xiaole's mother looked at Long Chen gratefully. The more she examined the current Bai Xiaole, the more delighted she grew. Long Chen's arrival had completely cured Bai Xiaole's illness. Moreover, in just a few short months, Long Chen had raised Bai Xiaola into a true warrior. As his mother, she could finally be at ease and proud of him. "It's definitely much better than being under certain people," said Bai Shishi indifferently. Long Chen almost laughed. This was clearly a jab at Bai Zhantan. Long Chen looked at him and saw that his expression was no longer very natural. Bai Shishi's mother and Bai Xiaola's mother covered their smiles. Bai Zhantang's expression was odd, but he had no choice but to admit that this was reality. Before Long Chen came, he had been powerless to treat Bai Xiaola's illness. But in just a few months with Long Chen, his son had been completely transformed. Although that didn't prove that Long Chen was stronger than him, it had to be said that Long Chen had more skill in certain areas than him. Bai Zhantang, who was attacked by his own daughter, was helpless. He only looked at Long Chen and nodded. "Little fellow, I admit that you are very outstanding." Long Chen's expression suddenly stiffened. He then straightened his back, clasping his hands behind him and putting on a dissatisfied look. He coldly said, "Who do you think you are talking to? Do you know what respect is? I am to be called Dean Long Chen, understood? You." Bai Zhantang raged. That appearance caused even Bai Shishi to laugh. As for Bai Zhantang's wives, they couldn't even stand up straight from how hard they were laughing. A peal of tinkling laughter rang out in the air. The 7th Branch Academy had been reclaimed, and the Grand Formation was set up once more. When the Transportation Formation was activated, countless experts of the High Firmament Academy came. They immediately set to work on rebuilding the 7th Branch Academy. Millions of craftsmen got to work. Long Chen found that with every building they completed, the formation strengthened a bit. Furthermore, all the buildings were built according to a set arrangement. It was just like the old 7th Branch Academy. These craftsmen worked as fast as they could. The materials had long since been prepared, so they set things up like they were setting up toy blocks. One building after another was built. Once these buildings were completed, they glowed with divine light as if they were alive. They possessed a marvelous magicalness about them that Long Chen couldn't see through. In just a few short hours, 108 buildings were completed. Once they were done, divine light flowed throughout the entire Branch Academy. From the air, it appeared to be a strange formation diagram like a dragon's spine. With its completion, the surrounding land thrummed with vitality. The violent spiritual chi of this domain grew gentle. The vile dragon domain was originally not suited to human cultivation but had silently been transformed into a perfect place for it. At the same time, Long Chen felt an ancient and heavy aura exude from every inch of the Branch Academy. These newly built buildings couldn't possibly possess such an aura, so this aura must come from the main academy. Its karmic luck was shared with the 7th Branch Academy. Once the 108 buildings were built, the 7th Branch Academy was completely revitalized. When an auspicious chi rose out of it, Bai Zhantang finally relaxed. Finally, success. Even if Lord Brahma comes now, there's no need to fear. Bai Shishi's mother and Bai Xiaola's mother stood beside Bai Zhantang. They all looked as if they were relieved from a heavy weight. Although they appeared relaxed when they arrived, their nerves were actually tense. They had been ready to fight an immense battle. However, Long Chen's acting was so great that Lord Brahma had been tricked. Lord Brahma's subordinates had strengthened the defenses at the other Branch Academy's ruins. It was only this place that was left guarded by the undying race. But Long Chen managed to take back control over it. Now that everything was set up, the Branch Academy was solidly connected to the headquarters. The main academy's experts could move between the two freely, so they were no longer afraid of an attack. With the formation complete, they were finally confident in holding this land. After that, Bai Xiaola urgently pulled his mother over to Vile Dragon Valley. As a result, the vile dragons inside all fell under his control, and he grabbed tens of thousands of dragon eggs. However, to properly manage millions of dragons was definitely a troublesome matter. Some of these vile dragons had matured, and some hadn't. The matured ones were equivalent to a mortal tier immortal king. This level of power was meaningless to Long Chen. To use the words of Bai Shishi's mother, Long Chen was the dean, and all the wealth of the 7th Branch Academy was his to control. In the 7th Branch Academy, whatever Long Chen said was what counted. He could do whatever he wanted. Furthermore, recruiting disciples, deciding tuition fees, and all the various cash flows would be up to him to decide. As long as it didn't cross the High Firmament Academy's rules, it could be said that Long Chen was the overlord of this place. When Long Chen scolded Bai Zhantong, his wives laughed because here, Long Chen was dean. Even if Bai Zhantong came from the Battle God Palace, he still technically had to listen to Long Chen here. However, Bai Zhantong wasn't so obedient. He refused to call Long Chen dean, but he also didn't call him little fellow anymore. Of course, Long Chen didn't have the energy to oversee the branch academy. He simply invited people from the main academy to oversee things. However, their salaries were up to him to pay. After all, no matter how high a person's status was, it was closely related to incentives. For Long Chen to suddenly gain control over such a large existence, he definitely didn't have the power to oversee it. At that very moment, he announced Bai Shishir to be his deputy dean. As a result, Bai Shishir merely glared at him. How could she have the time to oversee these things? Furthermore, her character also wasn't suited for such a position. On the other hand, Bai Xiaola wasn't afraid of that position. He directly asked for the position of deputy dean. With Bai Shishir's rejection, Long Chen really did give this position to him. With this fellow becoming the deputy dean, would the heavens be flipped in the future? Feeling helpless, Long Chen could only invite some people from the head academy to help him oversee his branch. Long Chen specifically named the wise elders he knew, such as Heaven Master Yun Yang and Heaven Master Dong Ming. He also called over the disciples from the Luo Gate and the Unfettered Alliance. They were the first-generation disciples of the 7th Branch Academy. As for Bai Shishir, despite not wanting to be deputy dean, she pulled over the disciples of her Heaven Female Alliance here, continuing to be its master. Long Chen bitterly smiled. Even he had to be afraid of the consequences when it came to her. How was he supposed to play around like this? In any case, he had never cared too much about his status as dean. He left the trifles to Heaven Master Yun Yang and the others so that he could be an absent leader. The Heaven Female Alliance, Luo Gate, and Unfettered Disciples were delighted to come to the 7th Branch Academy. Long Chen was truly extravagant. As the 7th Branch Academy's first-generation disciples, every single one of them was given a dragon egg. Those disciples felt like they were dreaming. As for Mu Qingyun, Luo Bing, Luo Ning, Zhong Ling, Zhong Xiu, and the others, they each obtained a mature Vile Dragon as a steed. The dragons were under the control of Bai Xiaola's mother. After placing a slave seal, they could be directly controlled. Sitting atop those giant dragons, these disciples felt like they might pass out from this blessing. However, Bai Xiaola's mother also said that while she would help them control these few dragons for free, if they wanted her to subdue more of them or do other work, she would have to charge a fee. This was one of the rules of the academy. Money was money, favors were favors. They couldn't be mixed. Long Chen was fine with that. He ordered people to send the leftover dragons to the head academy in exchange for a huge amount of cultivation resources. After all, the 7th Branch Academy needed resources. Although the building fees came from the main academy, everything else would be up to Long Chen to get. Furthermore, Bai Zhantong and the others would only stand guard over this place for a few days before returning to the main academy. They had more important things to do. Long Chen took advantage of this time to arrange everything. If the 7th Branch Academy was in danger, the main academy would immediately assist. But if the buildings were destroyed, as well as the cost of maintaining the formation, everything would have to come out of Long Chen's pocket. If Long Chen was unable to maintain that cost one day, the headquarters had the right to strip him of his position as dean. That wasn't something that Long Chen was worried about. Wasn't it just money? He might not have anything else, but he had plenty of money. The reason he had such confidence was because he had gathered so many dragon corpses, packing the black soil. A huge amount of life energy caused the wood foundation divine trees to grow larger. At the same time, they began to bear fruit. The wood foundation divine fruit started to mature. Just as Long Chen was busy dealing with all these affairs, guests came to pay their respects to him. Greetings, Dean. It was Zhao Qinglong, Jiang Yuha, the Iron Blood Mercenary Group, and the Blood Drinking Alliance. They immediately rushed over here when they received word. They had been in seclusion, but they were stunned when they heard the news. Long Chen really had retrieved the 7th Branch Academy. That was impossible. They discussed it and chose to come over to congratulate him. Naturally, one aspect of that was due to their own interests. Long Chen got straight to the point. My High Firmament Academy never bullies others. If you want to continue living, don't provoke the High Firmament Academy. Then we can all get along peacefully. However, you'll need to make sure that your subordinates don't get any wild thoughts. If anyone dares to start thinking about targeting the Academy's disciples, don't blame me for being merciless. Of course, of course. The 4 of them hastily nodded. Originally, they had thought that Long Chen would be intent on conquering the entire Vile Dragon domain. They had come to probe his attitude, so they felt a bit better after hearing this. Other than Zhao Qinglong, the other 3 had been planning on leaving the Vile Dragon domain after advancing to the Spirit tier. After all, this place wasn't suited to human cultivation. There was no way around it. Anyone with actual skill left this place, so they had been planning on setting up their own sects elsewhere. However, now that the Rainbow Cranes had unleashed their auspicious chi, this domain was suitable for human cultivation. Furthermore, the density of the spiritual chi here far surpassed other domains. They were prepared to actually set roots here instead of leaving. Furthermore, they had built up foundations here. Establishing a sect here would be easy for them. Their greatest worry was solely Long Chen. Hence, they were naturally happily surprised that Long Chen wouldn't drive them out. Everyone else is so happy. Why aren't you happy? Long Chen turned to Zhao Qinglong and smiled slightly. How could that be? I'm very happy. Zhao Qinglong's expression twitched. Jiang Yuha and the others looked from Zhao Qinglong to Long Chen, feeling startled. They seemed to sense something off. The Blood Kill Hall had you overseeing this place, but I still managed to take back the academy. You should be thinking of how to explain yourself to the higher-ups in a way that will allow you to keep your life, no? How can you be happy? Said Long Chen, still smiling. Jiang Yuha and the other 2 were startled. They looked at Zhao Qinglong in disbelief. They had known him for so long, but they had never sensed such a thing. It had to be known that Zhao Qinglong only ended up in such a terrible place because he had been hunted by the Blood Kill Hall. There was nowhere else for him to go. Did you come to take over Yen Yonghao's position? You showed up after he mysteriously vanished, exclaimed the Iron Blood Mercenary Group's leader suddenly. Long Chen, we went through life and death together. It's inappropriate for you to make such a joke, said Zhao Qinglong, his expression unnatural. Despite doing his best to stay calm, his blood chi had clearly quickened. He was secretly gathering power. Long Chen waved his hand. No need to be nervous. I won't kill you. Furthermore, if I wanted to kill you, no matter what you did, it would mean nothing. Hearing that, Zhao Qinglong's aura settled. After a long moment, he sighed. How did you know? I can't tell you that. It is because I knew that you were from the Blood Kill Hall that I managed to lull you into complacency. You thought that the 7th Branch Academy wasn't the real target. That's the only way to trick a wily old fox like Imputa. I say that he is brainless, but he does know some tricks. But to call him smart is definitely wrong. To put it frankly, he is someone who likes to think himself smart. I couldn't possibly do anything to the Devil Eye Water Lily, and yet I appeared to be set on taking back the 7th Branch Academy. He would naturally believe this to be false. After scheming against the Academy for so long, he overthought it to the point that doing the opposite worked perfectly. And Puta is probably in his palace, smashing some chairs right now. To tell the truth, I'm a bit worried for you. I don't know how you can make Imputa spare your life, said Long Chen. Zhao Qinglong bitterly smiled. He suddenly seemed to age a great deal. What method could I possibly have? I only came to test my luck and see if I could dredge up some useful information. If so, then the higher-ups would at least take into account my years of work, even if I didn't actually make any contributions. They might then spare my family. Jiang Yuha and the others were shocked. So Zhao Qinglong really was from the Blood Kill Hall. He was originally the master of a first-rate sect. just what had happened to him. The three of you, I hope that our past grudges and enmities can be waved off on account of me not having long to live anyway. Many thanks for not killing me, Longchen. I will leave right now. Hopefully, I can see my family one last time before the Bloodkill Hall's people arrive. Zhao Qinglong actually kowtowed toward Longchen and bowed deeply toward the three of them before leaving. His figure then vanished beyond the horizon. They all knew that he was definitely dead. Perhaps his family would be following him as well. For Zhao Qinglong to be reduced to this state after being such a glorious figure in the vile dragon domain, it truly felt tragic. When you think about it, what enmity is really worth so much? It is meaningless in front of death. What is the point of making your way in the world? Jiang Yuha sighed with mixed emotions. Of the three of them, she hated Zhao Qinglong the most. She wanted to tear him to pieces and eat his flesh. But now, even if Zhao Qinglong told her to kill him, she would be unable to do it. Human nature was sometimes truly contradictory. My High Firmament Academy will not bully the weak. If the three of you wish to live, then just don't touch the bottom line of the academy. This world belongs to all 10,000 spirits. No one can occupy the whole thing. The vile dragon domain is going to draw countless experts, and it is the best opportunity to develop. However, if you cannot grasp it, then even if you set up a sect, it will only be second-rate in this domain. My branch academy will not be recruiting disciples from outside, so go ahead and absorb as many people as you want. But don't harm my academy's profits, said Longchen. The academy isn't recruiting? The three of them were surprised. One of the reasons why they had come here was precisely to ask about this. They didn't want to start a conflict with the academy just over recruiting people. Thus, they had been prepared to discuss it with Longchen. While Longchen got to take the meat, could he give them some soup? But they hadn't expected the academy to not even care about this meat. We aren't recruiting from the outside to avoid any crooks from mixing in. My principle is that as long as people don't wrong me, I won't wrong them. Just take care of your subordinates. Don't blame me for not making things clear if your subordinates do something unacceptable, said Longchen seriously. Don't worry, such a thing definitely won't occur, swore the three of them. For Longchen to not dominate the vile dragon domain alone was a huge fortune to them. How could they dare to resist him? The three of them left and immediately called back their subordinates, sternly warning them not to provoke the 7th Branch Academy's disciples. 3 days later, a weary Zheng Wenlong arrived. He immediately gave Longchen some good news. Other than the Devil Eye water lily, all the other medicinal ingredients that you wanted have been gathered. Longchen was delighted. Zheng Wenlong was truly dependable. Anything that was left to him didn't need to be worried about. However, seeing how weary he was, Longchen felt bad. Clearly, Zheng Wenlong had tired himself out for his matter. Right now, Zheng Wenlong was putting all kinds of precious medicinal ingredients on the table. He then smiled with a pleased expression. It had to be known that he had run all over the place in order to gather these things. He had personally visited the warehouses of the large auction houses. After all, this was a personal matter, and he couldn't waste other people's efforts on his own matters. Most importantly, he didn't have that much privilege to order people yet. Thus, it truly had been very difficult for him to gather all these medicinal ingredients. Fortunately, he had accomplished this task. Longchen put the medicinal ingredients away, and the spirit vegetation ingredients were directly planted in the primal chaos space. As for ingredients that came from devil beasts and such, there was no way around them. He could only gather them slowly in order to accumulate large enough quantities. Zheng Wenlong hadn't brought too many of those ingredients. But Longchen also wasn't in a rush to refine the Violet Tower pills since he hadn't reached the Divine Lord realm. Moreover, these ingredients were 4th-tier ones and very precious, so buying them in large amounts would be very difficult. Without Zheng Wenlong, there was no way Longchen could gather enough without at least a few years. I have received some information about the Devil Eye water lilies. However, one of their complete seed pods is incredibly precious, and furthermore, it must have reached at least the Divine Lord realm. The price is truly shocking. With my limited authority, there is no way for me to get one yet, said Zheng Wenlong apologetically. The Huayun Trading Company's rules were fair. However much ability that you had was how much privilege you were granted. A complete seed pod from a devil eye water lily? He wasn't qualified to even touch such a thing yet. If he wanted one, he would need to trade with the auction house himself, and buying on credit would not be accepted. Thus, Zheng Wenlong felt a bit embarrassed. These treasures existed, but if Long Chen wanted them, he had to bring out money. The things that Long Chen had given Zheng Wenlong had essentially been traded for the medicinal ingredients that he had brought over this time, with almost nothing left over. It's been hard on you. Money is not a problem. I can handle it, said Long Chen. You've just taken the position of dean. There are thousands of things to do to maintain such a huge academy, but I can't help you that much, said Zheng Wenlong helplessly. He knew that Long Chen was currently lacking money, but there was nothing he could do. He could only give Long Chen what he had prepared so far. As for the devil eye water lily, he would slowly think of a way. Raising an academy can be done. Let me show you something. Long Chen handed a certain object to Zheng Wenlong. Wood Foundation Divine Fruit. Zheng Wenlong jumped. He received this fruit in disbelief. This fruit looked like an apple, except it appeared to be made of wood and was covered in wood veins. Holding it, he felt majestic life energy that refreshed his mind and body. The Wood Foundation Divine Fruit contained endless life energy. Legend had it that it could revive dead people, creating an entirely new body for them. Although the legends were exaggerated, it was truly a sacred medicine for healing people. It was also a divine object countless wood cultivators dreamed of obtaining. It was a heaven-defying treasure capable of changing a person's core wood energy. It really is a Wood Foundation divine fruit. If an ordinary person consumes it, they can directly awaken a primal bloodline. Although it's only a first-generation Wood Foundation divine fruit, its price is still astonishing. I will try and see if I can use it as collateral along with my own personal guarantee to get you a seed pod from a devil eye water lily, said Zheng Wenlong. There's already no longer a need for a devil eye water lily. I've already got it. But what do you mean by a first-generation Wood Foundation divine fruit? Asked Long Chen. Zheng Wenlong stared at him in shock. Long Chen had already gotten a devil eye water lily? He was truly heaven-defying. He even dared to take the things of the undying race. As for his question, Zheng Wenlong explained that the first time that a Wood Foundation divine tree bore fruit, it would contain the least amount of energy. Its fruit proved that it had grown up, but not necessarily that it had reached its limit. A Wood Foundation divine tree could continue to grow crazily beyond just the initial time of bearing fruit. Only once it had borne 9 generations of fruit would it reach its limit. The 9th generation fruit was the strongest, and also the most valuable. As for first generation fruit, the effect was far inferior to the 9th generation, but it was still extremely precious. However, when comparing priceless treasures, this first-generation Wood Foundation divine fruit could not compare to a Divine Lord Realm Devil Eye Water Lily, let alone an Immortal King Realm Devil Eye Water Lily. Now that Long Chen already had one, he wouldn't need to buy one from another person for such a high price. He was just waiting. The black dragon corpses from this time had caused the Wood Foundation divine trees to grow larger. Their fruit had matured, and just as Zheng Wenlong said, they grew crazily. They were much thicker, and they grew many times faster than before. If Zheng Wenlong hadn't said this, Long Chen still wouldn't have known that this was what was going on. The devil eye water lilies were also rapidly growing. With the lily already blooming, an immature seed pod had also grown. Compared to regular water lilies, the devil eye water lily seed pod was not fruit that was born after the lily flower bloomed but something that grew along with the lily flower. Long Chen saw that the devil eye water lilies had started to develop. Once it was fully mature, he could take out their seeds and plant them. In any case, there was still some distance from the Divine Lord realm. He had time to increase the number of ingredients that he had. Based on what he saw, when the devil eye water lilies sprouted leaves, their aura was equivalent to the mortal transcendence realm. When the lily bloomed and the seed pod was born, it was the divine flame realm. Based on their current state, they had reached the equivalent of the 4-peak realm. The lily seeds could be planted. The Violet Tower Pill's pill formula required the lily seed from a devil eye water lily that grew to at least the Divine Lord realm. Otherwise, there was no way for the pill to condense. Long Chen was in no rush. They could slowly grow. However, he needed to get rid of the huge amount of Wood Foundation Divine Fruit on his hands now. Brother Wenlong, is it easy to sell the Wood Foundation Divine Fruit? Asked Long Chen. Of course. This thing can be said to have limitless demand, said Zheng Wenlong. What if I were to give you 100,000 of them at once? Could you quickly turn them into the resources that I need? Asked Long Chen. What? Zheng Wenlong was so moved that he almost crushed the fruit in his hand. 100,000 Wood Foundation Divine Fruit? When 100,000 Wood Foundation Divine Fruit appeared in front of him, he almost went down on both knees. This was an incalculable wealth. Long Chen told him to quickly sell them for materials to construct a palace and formations. He wanted to turn the 7th Branch Academy into a supreme sect. The head academy only provided him with the bare minimum for them to protect themselves. If he wanted an upgrade, he needed to burn money. This place would be Long Chen's dominion in the future, so he had to build some iron walls to make a haven he could return to. The day after Zheng Wenlong left, an ocean's worth of resources came. The craftsmen that had been about to return to the head academy after finishing their mission were then summoned by Long Chen. In front of their dumbfounded gazes, Long Chen directly announced, "Strengthen all the formations to the highest level, the level that can instantly kill a world king." Are you mad? The resources required for such a thing are unimaginable. Even Bai Zhantong was shocked. The Academy's grand formation had 7 levels. Right now, they had built them up to the 3rd level. Activating the 7th level required all the buildings to be fully restored. That required an ocean's worth of resources. No worry. I don't have anything else, but I do have money. The 7th Academy is mine, so it must be built into the strongest stronghold. The defensive and offensive power must be of the strongest level. Speaking of which, the Spirit Gathering Formation and Training Formation must also be the strongest. No need to worry about money. Work as fast as you can and be happy about it. I will pay you 10 times the wage that the main academy pays you, said Long Chen to the craftsmen. These craftsmen were delighted. They were already paid a decent sum by the academy, but for Long Chen to offer them 10 times that, they immediately got to work. There truly was nothing for Long Chen to nitpick about Zheng Wenlong's efficiency. Those 100,000 Wood Foundation Divine Fruit had been directly provided as collateral for Long Chen, enough to provide him with an incredible amount of resources. All the resources that weren't immediately required for bare minimum maintenance within the nearby domains were sent over to Long Chen. Storehouses were emptied for him. Materials for all kinds of buildings were piled up. When Bai Zhantong saw the mountains of materials, he was dumbfounded. This fellow Long Chen had way too much money. With millions of craftsmen working, they had finished the bare-bones structure of the 7th Branch Academy. But with these resources, they further perfected it, restoring it to its former glory. When the main palace was completed, its glorious splendor changed the entire aura of this place. An ancient yet new aura filled the air. When it was finished, heaven and earth shook. Karmic luck flowed toward the 7th Branch Academy. This branch was originally a treasured land of great feng shui. When the palace was completed, it was like it had awakened, drawing out a natural manifestation of heaven and earth. One palace after another was built and bricks covered the roads. After that, emerald grass grew out of the land like a mattress. Small bridges over creeks and rivers were constructed. Now, this place was filled with immortal qi. Long Chen had turned the 7th Branch Academy into a wonderland. Furthermore, in order to improve the atmosphere, Long Chen even took out some fertile soil from the primal chaos space and sprinkled it in some places. This soil still possessed immense life energy even after leaving the primal chaos space. After moving it outside, there would be no problem for its life energy to remain for hundreds of years. During this time, it would improve the fertility of the natural soil, allowing all vegetation to flourish. Even some large trees that might take years to sprout would instantly germinate and grow if planted here. Day by day, the 7th Branch Academy grew. In just a short month, all the buildings of the Old Branch Academy had been rebuilt. During this 1 month, the amount of resources that Long Chen took out shook Bai Zhantong and the others deeply. Every day, the Huayun Trading Company was sending over an ocean's worth of resources. And every day they were used up. The millions of craftsmen were constantly busy, working without pause. Even after watching the work be done bit by bit, when the 7th Branch Academy was fully restored, they felt like they were dreaming. Bai Zhantong was truly unable to imagine just what kind of relationship Long Chen had with the Huayun Trading Company. They just tossed over so many precious resources like they were trash. Just using money, Long Chen had created a glorious branch academy. The work of 100 years was completed in just a month. All the buildings could be used now. If the formation was fully activated, this domain's power would be instantly sucked into one single attack, and that truly was an attack capable of killing a world king. With this, the 7th Branch Academy was truly an impenetrable stronghold. However, the huge price had used up 100,000 wood foundation divine fruit. That was essentially all of them. Zheng Wenlong had also emptied the storehouses of the Huayun Trading Company in all the nearby domains to satisfy Long Chen's requirements. The huge amount of business that Zheng Wenlong had conducted gave him greater privilege and authority compared to before. In the future, as long as Long Chen had some treasure, he could directly exchange them with the Huayun Trading Company. This was a true mutually profitable collaboration. However, for now, Long Chen could no longer bother Zheng Wenlong. The resources he had right now were gained using the wood foundation divine fruit as collateral. If something happened and the price when they were sold in auction was not as high as expected, then the Huayun Trading Company would lose out. Thus, for now, Zheng Wenlong could only provide Long Chen with this much. Anyway, this was enough. Long Chen had the best spirit-gathering formation, and his giant academy only had 1,000 disciples. All kinds of resources were available. There was no need for people to line up to get their resources. Heaven Master Yun Yang, Heaven Master Dong Ming, and the others sighed in amazement. Whether it was the elders or disciples of the 7th Branch Academy, they were all blessed. With only a few people, there were more resources available for every person. Even Bai Shirshir's mother joked about leaving the Battle God Palace and joining the 7th Branch Academy, enraging Bai Zhantong. With the 7th Branch Academy being built into such a glorious state, the main academy asked if Long Chen wanted them to send him some people to keep up appearances, but Long Chen declined. He said that other than some elders for day-to-day management, he didn't want anyone from the senior generation. He wanted a young academy. The main academy respected his choice, so they didn't push this or ask again. That made Long Chen feel much more at ease. Although the academy was inflexible with some things, they kept their word. So, he was satisfied. He didn't mind raising some more people, but if they just came to eat without doing anything, wouldn't that be irritating? If he had a bunch of new people come to criticize and give orders, he would be vexed to death. Thus, what was important was quality, not quantity. Fewer people meant that things were easier to manage. There would also be fewer conflicts, and he would have it easier as dean. Since this place was already built into an invulnerable stronghold, Bai Zhantong brought his people away. He had brought 36 immortal kings, and Long Chen gave each of them a wood foundation divine fruit, shocking and delighting them. This thing was incredibly precious, and even if they couldn't use it, they could exchange it for other treasures. As for Bai Shirshir's mother and Bai Xiaola's mother, Long Chen naturally wouldn't be stingy. He gave each of them 10. The only things that he could bring out for them were these things. Hence, the two of them smiled widely and praised Long Chen for being thoughtful and magnanimous. But when it came to Bai Zhantong, Long Chen didn't give him anything. To use Long Chen's words, Bai Zhantong was the deputy palace master, so how could he give him such a small thing? It would be an insult to his dignity, so Long Chen didn't give him anything. Hearing this, Bai Zhantong clenched his teeth in fury. Just how much did Long Chen want to humiliate him? But with his status, he definitely couldn't lower himself to ask Long Chen for one. He could only act disdainfully and leave. After a month of hard work, Long Chen could finally relax. As long as it was within the Vile Dragon domain, even if Imputa personally came, he wouldn't be afraid. by Shishir, Mu Qingyun, Luo Bing, and the others cultivated in the spirit-gathering formation. The cultivation conditions here were many times greater than at the main academy. They didn't want to waste any time. After finishing all this, Long Chen also wanted to start cultivating. However, just then he suddenly thought of something very important. His mind sank into the primal chaos space, and he came to the foot of the heavenly Tao tree in the black soil. When he saw its current state, he was absolutely shocked. The heavenly Tao tree was different from before. It had grown, and the patterns on its leaves were different. But even after growing, its limit was still 9,999 fruits. On the martial heaven continent, it could also only bear that many fruits. However, among these fruits, some were different. There were exactly 999 of such fruit, not one more and not one less. They had some strange marks on them, and their auras were different. Long Chen stared in amazement at them. The heavenly Tao tree has the magical ability of condensing heavenly Tao fruit after primals are slain. I killed countless primals from various domains and worlds this time, so the heavenly Tao tree has already reached its limit of 9,999 fruits. Now that the limit has been reached, has it changed in quality? Long Chen's voice quivered. If this guess was correct, then the heavenly Tao tree was truly a heaven-defying treasure. The heavenly Tao tree's 999 special fruits were shining. Their aura was clearly different from the other 9,000. Long Chen looked closer at one of them. Tracing its lines, they looked like magic clouds. This aura is somewhat familiar to the Yuhua Palace's patriarch. Could it be that after eating it, it will change a person's constitution? In the future, when they reach the Immortal King realm, will they directly reach the spirit tier? Long Chen suddenly thought of something that made his heart skip. Long Chen immediately retreated from the primal chaos space and called out Luo Bing from her seclusion. After they spoke, she returned to the Heavenly Swell Domain's main academy to send a message to Luo Changwu. Long Chen needed him to secretly come with 1,000 of his primal disciples to the 7th Branch Academy. This transportation formation was truly convenient. There was no need to cross the Devil's Sea. Furthermore, with Long Chen being in such a rush, he had Luo Changwu spend a huge amount of money to come directly from the Luo family to the High Firmament Academy, and then to here. When Luo Changwu arrived at the 7th Branch Academy, he was stunned by what he saw. Although he had heard that the branch had been restored to its previous glory, he was still shaken when he personally witnessed it. Long Chen directly had those 1,000 Luo family's disciples register. They officially became disciples of the 7th Branch Academy and would be able to grow like fish in water here. Luo Changwu had absolute confidence in Long Chen, so he wasn't worried about the academy taking the Luo family's disciples at all. When the Luo family's disciples sensed the dense spiritual qi here, they felt that it was a wonderland. The spiritual qi here was several times denser than their cultivation grounds. Just breathing in this qi could increase their cultivation base. After giving them their disciple plates, Luo Bing brought them to the cultivation grounds. As for Long Chen, he invited Luo Changwu to his personal Dean Palace. Looking at the grand and luxurious palace, Luo Changwu sighed, "Father's vision truly is admirable." Before the Chu family and the Luo family's conflict reached its peak, Luo Zichuan had left, leaving the Luo family to his sons. Then Long Chen led them to destroy the Chu family. However, only now did the two of them understand that Luo Zichuan hadn't left the Luo family to them, but to Long Chen. Long Chen had climbed up step by step. In just a few months, he became the dean of the 7th Branch Academy. That was an illustrious status. Long Chen's support was something that Luo Changwu was extremely grateful for, and he also admired his father for having such a sharp vision. "Has there been any news from the family head?" asked Long Chen. He was grateful to Luo Zichuan but also worried about him. Luo Changwu shook his head, his mood sinking. He always felt like his father leaving was no good omen. "Martial uncle, don't worry. With the family's head power and wisdom, he'll be fine. He won't sacrifice himself when he still has a use to the Luo family. He most likely left to buy us more time. What we need to do now is increase our power as much as possible. Once I reach the Divine Lord realm, I'll go find him," said Long Chen. You know where father went? Asked Luo Changwu in surprise. I have a guess, said Long Chen. Luo Changwu had not climbed to the peak of the Honing heavenly staircase. As he hadn't seen the star map in the stone hut, he didn't know about that mark. Long Chen was almost sure that Luo Zichuan had gone there. However, he didn't dare to head there yet. Even if he found Luo Zichuan, in his current state, he couldn't possibly help his grandfather. However, once Long Chen advanced to the Divine Lord realm and condensed the 7-star battle armor, that would be different. He was planning on finding Luo Zichuan after condensing the full 7-star battle armor. Back in the day, it was due to his mother's actions that the Luo family's hopes were extinguished. So, he had to carry that burden for his mother. Martial uncle, you just advanced to the Immortal King realm. Your aura isn't too steady, so I can't really tell what tier you are. You should be at the mortal tier, right? Asked Long Chen. Luo Changwu nodded, feeling embarrassed. Me and your Uncle Wen are truly lacking. We are both only mortal tier immortal kings. Luo Zichuan had risen from a mortal tier immortal king to a heaven tier immortal king in just a few short centuries. Although that couldn't be said to be a record time, it was definitely the shortest one in the past trillion years. Luo Zichuan had only had children after reaching the heaven tier. Theoretically, with that kind of talent, his children should have a chance of directly reaching the earth tier upon becoming immortal kings, and they should at least be at the spirit tier. However, when the two of them advanced, they found that they were only the most ordinary mortal tier immortal kings. They even suspected that they had been adopted. Why hadn't they inherited Luo Zichuan's talent? Both of them were depressed after advancing but didn't dare to display that sadness to others. Now that Long Chen had brought it up, Luo Changwu was very embarrassed. Martial uncle, don't be dispirited. If the heavens won't give you something, take it yourself. The family head also advanced from the mortal tier, right? I have an opportunity for you to advance your immortal king tier, but it comes at a certain risk. I don't know if you're willing to try it? Asked Long Chen. Long Chen couldn't possibly be sure what would happen when someone consumed one of the new heavenly Dao fruit. If Luo Changwu's cultivation base suddenly fell to the 4-peak realm, Long Chen didn't know if he would go crazy. So Long Chen directly gave him an explanation about what kind of risks he expected. Luo Changwu realized that Long Chen was going to give him one of the heaven-defying divine fruit that changed ordinary disciples into primals. Without hesitation, he directly answered, I'm not afraid. Let me test it. If it works, I'll be grateful to be the precedent. Even if it fails, it's not a problem. Even if it drops me back to the 4-peak realm, I have the experience. It won't be long before I return to the Immortal King realm. It just so happens that I can also rebuild my foundation, making it even more solid. That won't be a bad thing, said Luo Changwu. Hearing that, Long Chen took out the highest of the 999 special fruits. When Luo Changwu held this fruit, his expression changed. If I eat this fruit, I will die. Favorite. What? Long Chen jumped in shock. He didn't quite dare to believe it. This heavenly Dao fruit would lead to death if consumed? I'm not sure why. My intuition is telling me that I will instantly die if I eat it. It's a fatal feeling, said Luo Changwu certainly. Then don't eat it. Let me take a look. Long Chen took back the heavenly Dao fruit. Every expert had a sharp sense of danger. They would naturally feel an intense crisis if they were going to eat something that could kill them. In the immortal world, there was almost no such thing as poisoning someone's food to kill them. It was far too difficult to succeed. Long Chen trusted Luo Changwu's perception. However, how could the heavenly Dao fruit be poisoned? It was impossible. Was it due to the aura of the other worlds? That didn't seem likely. Long Chen's mind once more sank into the primal chaos space. Looking at the fruit, he suddenly realized something. Only now did he find that amongst the 999 special fruits, there were some whose marks were not quite the same as the others. Long Chen had plucked one of those. Looking carefully, he found 99 of them were somewhat different. But it wasn't too easy to tell. It would be extremely easy to get them mixed up. However, when he carefully sensed their auras, there was definitely a slight difference. With that, he checked even more closely and found that 9 of these 99 were also different. The one in his hand was one of those 9. 9,000 ordinary heavenly Tao fruit, 900 with the aura of spirit tier immortal kings, 90 with unclear aura, and 9 of the 4th class. Their aura is vague, but I do sense the slightest similarity with Bai Zhantong's aura, as well as Xiaola and Shishi's mother's. Are they mortal tier, spirit tier, earth tier, and heaven tier fruits respectively? But then that would mean Bai Zhantong is a heaven tier immortal king. Long Chen was dumbfounded. If that really was the case, then when Long Chen became an immortal king, he could directly advance to the heaven tier without cultivating those tiers. Furthermore, it wasn't just himself. As long as he had enough heavenly Tao fruits, he could create heaven tier immortal kings. That was absolutely heaven-defying. Long Chen almost fell from the shock. Such a heaven-defying thing could topple the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Long Chen looked at the heavenly Tao tree in disbelief. Just how terrifying of an existence was this tree? There's a clear difference between the auras of the 1st class and 2nd class fruits. But there isn't much difference between the 2nd class and the 3rd class, and it's even harder to tell the difference between the 3rd class and 4th class. Does that mean that they aren't fully matured? Long Chen sank into thought. He had killed countless heavenly geniuses from multiple worlds in the battle of the heavenly rainbow domain. Could it be that even after absorbing so much energy, it still wasn't enough? Long Chen. Seeing Long Chen staring into space for so long, Luo Changwu eventually shouted at him. He didn't know that Long Chen's mind had entered a different world. I can try it if you want. Maybe it was a misperception. Long Chen woke up and then said, "Your intuition can't be wrong. Martial uncle, try this fruit instead." Long Chen handed him a different heavenly Tao fruit, one for the spirit tier. As a result, Luo Changwu sensed endless spiritual qi within it, and he also sensed his spirit root quivering in excitement. "This is a treasure that I need," exclaimed Luo Changwu. Even his spirit root had reacted. This was definitely a treasure. Long Chen indicated for him to eat it. He also activated the formation, and endless spiritual qi poured into this room for Luo Changwu to use. Luo Changwu's body didn't even twitch after consuming it, but his aura began to ripple. In the beginning, if it was a calm lake, first it began to ripple, and then it started to boil. Immortal qi also appeared around him. After an hour, his aura had completely transformed. When he opened his eyes, they were glowing splendidly. He seemed to shine, as if he had completely changed. I really did upgrade my spirit root. I became a spirit tier immortal king. Although Luo Changwu knew that he had advanced, he still didn't dare to believe it. "Congratulations, martial uncle." Long Chen laughed. He was even more excited than Luo Changwu. He almost started jumping. With such a heaven-defying heavenly Tao fruit, who did Long Chen have to fear? Once he gathered the Dragonblood Legion, he would have a legion of heaven-tier immortal kings. Then who would care about Imputa? He could directly go find Lord Brahma. Luo Changwu felt like he was dreaming. Just as he was still filled with disbelief, Long Chen took out another fruit. "Martial uncle, why don't you try this one as well? Do you feel any danger from it?" Luo Changwu jumped. He received another fruit and didn't sense any danger. Furthermore, his spirit root once more became active. Although it wasn't as intense as before, it was clearly longing for this treasure. Since he didn't sense danger, Long Chen had Luo Changwu consume it. This was a 3rd class heavenly Tao fruit, or perhaps he should call it an earth tier heavenly Tao fruit. However, Long Chen was disappointed by the result. After the fruit was consumed, its energy was absorbed by Luo Changwu's spirit root. There definitely was a certain change in the spirit root, and his aura did seem a bit different as well. But he didn't advance to become an earth tier immortal king. Despite not advancing, Luo Changwu was still delighted. This fruit had still made his spirit root progress in quality. It was equivalent to years of bitter cultivation. "I understand. Most likely, this earth tier heavenly Tao fruit isn't fully matured, so it doesn't have the full effect." Long Chen finally figured out why the auras of the 3rd class and 4th class fruits weren't that different from the 2nd class. He began to give Luo Changwu more earth tier heavenly Tao fruit. Luo Changwu then consumed 13 of them before his spirit root suddenly shook and a violent qi wave exploded out of him. Caught off guard, Long Chen was blown back, almost coughing up blood. Long Chen, are you all right? Luo Changwu ran over. Long Chen waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. He was shocked. There was truly a difference between the spirit tier and the earth tier. Just Luo Changwu's aura alone was enough to injure him. If they were to truly fight, he probably wouldn't be able to receive a single attack. The difference between a spirit tier immortal king and an earth tier immortal king was no longer something that could be bridged with quantity. It was a truly qualitative change. Luo Changwu was also stunned. Just before this, he had been depressed about being an ordinary mortal tier immortal king. But now, he suddenly became an earth tier immortal king. He sensed endless energy thrumming within his body. Combining the power of his spirit root and the violet qi around his body, he seemed to be the master of heaven and earth. This kind of feeling was almost enough to make him weep out of emotion. With this test, Long Chen came to several conclusions. 1. The heavenly Tao fruit could not be consumed across levels or the consumer would die. 2. The heavenly Tao fruits that weren't fully mature were still useful, and their lack of maturity could be made up for with numbers to have the same effect. Long Chen then turned his attention to the heaven tier heavenly Tao fruit. But ultimately he shook his head. The amount of energy inside them was far too low. Even if all 9 were consumed, they couldn't possibly allow Luo Changwu to reach the heaven tier. So, it was better to keep them and have them slowly mature. Martial Uncle, when you go back, have Uncle Wen come. You can also pick out 9,000 elites of the Luo family to come to my 7th branch academy. Long Chen's eyes began to shine. Since the Dragonblood Legion had yet to come, he would first raise the Luo family's disciples. The next day, Luo Changwen came. With the help of the heavenly Tao fruits, he also became an earth tier immortal king. As a result, the Luo family now had 2 earth tier immortal kings, and they could slowly advance to the 9th heaven stage of the immortal king realm. Although they weren't qualified to reach the full circle of the immortal king realm yet, they were already supreme existences within the heavenly swell domain. With 2 earth tier immortal kings standing guard over it, the Luo family's position was as steady as a mountain. Furthermore, Long Chen also took out 9,000 of the ordinary heavenly Tao fruit for them, letting them raise even more elite disciples. As the Luo family had the honing heavenly staircase, their disciples had stronger wills than ordinary disciples. Hence, the warriors that they raised could be said to be unafraid of death. When they awakened primal bloodlines, it also awakened their violet qi. Hence, the Luo family's disciples could directly become elites amongst elites with the aid of the heavenly Tao fruits. Also, these heavenly Tao fruits would be useless in Long Chen's hands for now, so it was better to use them up quickly. After all, equipping the Luo family was like equipping himself. However, they couldn't make any huge moves. So, these 9,000 disciples stayed in the Luo family's secret training room. It was best to keep them there for now without exposing them. As for the matter of 4 peak pills, there was no need to worry. While rebuilding the 7th branch academy, Zheng Wenlong had gotten Long Chen a king item pill furnace, one that was newly forged and hadn't had a spirit awoken in it yet. Long Chen then had the moon and star refining furnace's item spirit enter it. With Huolinger's help, it quickly merged with it. It then refined pills every day, growing stronger and stronger. A huge number of 4 peak pills were being refined. Most importantly, the demon moon furnace's item spirit had finished merging with the day-night furnace's item spirit. So, the day-night furnace had been demonized, becoming the demon moon furnace. Just half a month ago, the demon moon furnace started refining pills. However, the pills that she refined were low-grade demonic pills. They were filled with impurities, and consuming them would be detrimental to the body. But after a few days of refining, the demon moon furnace's item spirit grew stronger until she could control the demon moon furnace, and the demonic pills increased in quality. Just yesterday, Ling communicated spiritually with Long Chen. She was finally awake after being in slumber for so long. However, she had merged with the original item spirit of the day-night furnace, so she felt both foreign and familiar to Long Chen. Long Chen knew that Linger's power would only continue to grow. She would occupy the main consciousness and would gradually become her old self. The strengthened demon moon furnace began to refine peakless pills for Long Chen. Although the number was a bit low, with her only being able to refine a few furnaces of pills a day, all of them were demonic pills. Demonic pills were violent and explosive. Their medicinal energy was something that would directly make someone explode if they consumed one. Fortunately, Long Chen's physical body was tough enough to endure it. Furthermore, he found that the Demon Moon Furnace's peakless pills were actually even more suitable for his cultivation. Thus, Long Chen left the peakless pills to be refined by the Demon Moon Furnace, while the Moon and Star Refining Furnace got to refine 4 peak pills. Now, he had mountains of 4 peak pills, too many for him to even use up. The Moon and Star Refining Furnace was working day and night, strengthening itself daily. Although Long Chen didn't have time to teach it how to refine different medicinal pills, there was no need for such a thing. So, he just let it continue refining. As they cultivated, they brought Long Chen an endless supply of medicinal pills. If he couldn't use them up, he could give them to Zheng Wenlong to sell. So, it could be said that the 2 furnaces had become bottomless cornucopias for Long Chen. After this was arranged, Long Chen finally sighed with relief. He then went to the rear mountains of the academy. Zhantong, have you noticed? After returning to the main academy, Bai Xiaola's mother, who had wanted to mention something several times but had stopped in the end, finally couldn't hold back any longer. I noticed. Bai Zhantong nodded. Why didn't you warn him? The ghost Dao has already set its sights on him, but he doesn't know it. If you don't warn him, something terrible will probably befall him in the near future, said Bai Xiaola's mother. Bai Shishir's mother was startled. Only she hadn't noticed anything odd. She asked, Long Chen is in danger from the ghost Dao? Is it because of the ghost ship? Bai Shishir had not mentioned the ghost ship as she knew that it was a bizarre existence. Long Chen had also said that it would be best not to bring it up to avoid bringing karma to others. However, while Bai Shishir kept quiet, Bai Xiaola was different. When Long Chen and Bai Shishir weren't present, he brought this up in front of his parents to prove just how big his guts were. At that time, they were terrified by what they were hearing. Long Chen's guts were truly too big to even dare to climb up a ghost ship. Seeing their shock, Bai Xiaola was even more pleased and brought up how Long Chen had stolen a golden sword from the ghost ship and given it to Bai Shishir. The 3 of them felt a burst of fear at hearing that. Ghost ships were said to be connected to the secrets of the 10 planar worlds. They could not be looked at nor be talked about. Otherwise, misfortune would befall those who were touched by their karma. Long Chen was crazy. After learning all of this, Bai Xiaola's mother sternly warned her son not to mention this matter to anyone ever again. It was only now that Bai Shishir's mother learned that the ghost Dao had set its sights on Long Chen. Bai Xiaola's mother possessed the 3 flower pupils. Having reached the 7th level, she was capable of seeing things that others couldn't see. However, she hadn't brought it up until it was just the 3 of them alone. It is most likely due to the ghost ship. After touching such a terrifying existence, the ghost Dao's mark has been placed on him, said Bai Zhantong somewhat gravely. Just like you back then? Asked Bai Shishir's mother. No, not like then. I was marked because of a deviation in my cultivation of the 6th Dao fist. Then when the ghost world invaded, I was seriously wounded and had the ghost Dao imprint placed on me. Even my father didn't sense it. It was only thanks to Senior Sweeper's warning that I managed to control it. It also helped me perfect my power of the 6 Daos. When I saw Long Chen this time, my mark sensed his. I wanted it to help him, thinking it could dispel Long Chen's ghost Dao mark. However, when it faced that mark, its spirit suddenly swelled violently. If I didn't cut off the connection in time, it would have died, said Bai Zhantong. It has the same strength as you, but just looking at Long Chen's mark almost caused it to dissipate? Both of his wives jumped in shock. Back in the day, Bai Zhantong had also been marked by the ghost Dao. It was thanks to the sweeper's pointers that he managed to subdue a life form of the ghost Dao, and from then on, it lived in his body with him, becoming his strongest helper. It was capable of being summoned and fighting on its own. Moreover, Its power was not at all inferior to his own. Now, such a powerful existence almost died just from looking at Long Chen's mark? That was astonishing. Yes. It's still in slumber. I'll probably only know the details once it wakes up, said Bai Zhantong solemnly. The reason why Bai Shishir and Bai Xiaola had an innate fear of creatures of the ghost Dao was actually related to Bai Zhantong. However, their parents had never told the two of them about this matter. Even if you can't resolve it, you should warn Long Chen, said Bai Xiaola's mother. If a person doesn't have a heart devil, it is impossible to draw over an outer ghost. Long Chen is definitely aware of it somewhat, so we don't need to worry for him. Bai Zhantong shook his head. However, he suddenly irritably said, I'm an idiot. Before going to the 7th Branch Academy, Senior Sweeper told me that I only had to do my duty and not bother with anything else. Thinking back, he must have been specifically referring to Long Chen's ghost Dao mark. If I had remembered, I wouldn't have had it suffer like this. I have the head of a pig. Bai Zhantong had the urge to hit himself. The sweeper of the academy was so far-sighted, and none of his words were meaningless. But Bai Zhantong still suffered after being warned, almost causing his companion to die. He was truly foolish. Hearing that the sweeper had brought up this matter, the other two relaxed. As for Bai Zhantong's regret, the two of them found it vexing and funny. This fellow's head really wasn't too bright sometimes. They could only comfort him as they returned to the main academy. At this moment, rumbling rang out as Long Chen fought 8 golden figures at once. His fists danced. There were 8 spirit-tier Immortal King combatants projected by a formation. This formation was one of the training grounds of the 7th Branch Academy. It was capable of summoning powerful projections for people to train with. As for these combatants, they were condensed by the formation and were based on real people. They were like copies, a bit similar to the heavenly Daos copying ancient heavenly geniuses and projecting them during the tribulation. The High Firmament Academy's foundation was truly profound. In order to raise its disciples, there were some particularly fierce training grounds. This particular formation was able to replicate the battle wills and techniques of countless experts. Those experts were some of the strongest enemies slain throughout the High Firmament Academy's history. There were humans as well as other races, beasts, devils, and fiends. You could choose your opponent based on cultivation base, combat power, and other attributes. However, this training ground was something that was almost never activated in the main academy because activating it cost a terrifying amount of resources. Long Chen had summoned spirit-tier Immortal Kings to spar against him, and that had required him to use Immortal King spiritual crystals. These crystals contained King Qi, something that Immortal Kings required to cultivate. The ordinary spiritual Qi of the immortal world was not enough for Immortal Kings, so they had to rely on Immortal King spiritual crystals to cultivate. The value of such a thing was equivalent to 1 billion ordinary immortal crystals. Furthermore, they were incredibly rare objects, treasures nourished by heaven and earth. There was nothing that could replace them. Long Chen had summoned 8 life forms of other worlds at once, using up 8 Immortal King spiritual crystals. An ordinary Immortal King would be pained to death by that price. However, Long Chen didn't mind. As long as it could increase his combat power, he wasn't aggrieved about the price at all. His fists danced against those 8 life forms. Those life forms had strange techniques and countless divine abilities. They launched one killing blow after another. At this moment, the 7th Branch Academy's disciples were watching, and they had cold sweat running down their backs just from observing this fight. In order to not waste this chance, Long Chen had summoned these disciples so that they could gain some experience against foreign experts. These life forms were much stronger than the human race's spirit-tier Immortal Kings. Those that were recorded within this formation were all top experts at their level. Every single one of them had their own killing blows as well. Long Chen was already soaked in blood from fighting them for so long. He was surrounded by danger, and yet he continued to fight with only his fists. The disciples' hearts clenched every time they saw him narrowly avoid danger from their attacks. This was incredibly dangerous. "Boss, time is almost up," shouted Qin Feng. He was counting the time for Long Chen. These summoned experts could only stay for at most an incense stick's worth of time. After that, the energy within the Immortal King's spiritual crystals would be exhausted. Boom. With that reminder, Long Chen's aura suddenly erupted like a volcano. With a single punch, one of those life forms was blasted apart. Using just punches, Long Chen killed these experts. The final expert pierced Long Chen's chest with its sword just before its death. Just then, the 8 Immortal King's spiritual crystals embedded in the wall fell to the ground and shattered. These crystals that even king items could barely damage were gone. Suddenly, an explosive sound came from within Long Chen's body. A chi wave then spread in every direction. Qin Feng had long since been prepared, and he activated the formation, sealing Long Chen's aura inside so that it could not harm the surrounding people. Long Chen's aura was tumultuous. It battered the barrier like millions of blades. In just 1 month, Boss advanced from the 4th heaven stage to the 7th heaven stage, rising from the mid-stage to the late stage. This cultivation speed is incomparable. Qiyu looked at Long Chen's aura and sighed. Right now, Long Chen was in the same realm as them. That meant that his power was even more terrifying. Every heaven stage in the 4-peak realm led to major changes, and Long Chen's aura could only be described as terrifying. Long Chen had spent a month fighting powerful experts here and used up hundreds of Immortal King's spiritual crystals. Each time, he fought different races and pushed himself to the border of life and death. This was to stimulate his potential and raise the effect of the peakless pills. It came at a shocking price, but his gains were also shocking. He advanced 3 heaven stages in 1 month. It seemed that ever since he had set foot into the cultivation world, he had never experienced such a speed. Thanks to the endless supply of resources, Qiyu, Qin Feng, and Su Zixiong had also reached the 7th heaven stage half a month ago. Now Long Chen had caught up. In the same vein, with so many resources, Mu Qingyun, Luo Bing, Luo Shui, and the others also advanced quickly. All of their cultivation speeds were shocking. But the most shocking ones were Bai Xiaola and Bai Shishir. Despite no one ever seeing Bai Xiaola cultivate, he had advanced to the 8th heaven stage just 3 days ago. That easy manner of his was enough to enrage people. As for Bai Shishir, she had reached the 9th heaven stage 7 days ago. That was also the result of her holding back for fear of advancing too quickly and shaking her foundation. The energy within the metal lily seed that Long Chen had given her was incredibly pure. She didn't even need to refine it. Just by absorbing that energy, her cultivation base crazily grew. If it wasn't for fear of her foundation growing unsteady, she could even attempt to break through to the Divine Lord realm. She had stepped out of seclusion the past few days. With nothing else to do, she watched Long Chen train, gaining insights from his combat experience. Although her metal energy was terrifying, her combat experience couldn't compare to Long Chen's. She could learn many things from him. It wasn't just Bai Shishir. Everyone was trying to learn from Long Chen. Just watching these battles under their terrifying pressures was silently honing their wills, allowing them to maintain clear minds even in the face of death. Some of the more talented people were able to gain even more from watching him fight. They digested Long Chen's experiences and applied them to themselves. This was also one of Long Chen's goals in having them watch. Congratulations, boss. Qiyu passed a towel and a new set of robes to Long Chen. Long Chen normally only wore ordinary robes. Only when he was out for important occasions would he wear the clothes that Meng Qi and the others had made for him. Long Chen used the towel to wipe off the blood and sweat. He then put on new robes and appeared completely refreshed. However, he shook his head and sighed. There's nothing to congratulate me for. After this advancement, I feel that this trial is already useless to me. Spirit-tier Immortal Kings were no longer able to threaten him, so he didn't feel any danger anymore against them. Even if there were more of them, it would be a waste of time. If he spent 100 Immortal King Spirit Crystals, the formation could summon an Earth-tier Immortal King. But an Earth-tier Immortal King might kill him in one blow. It had to be known that this trial summoned the strongest and most terrifying experts of their tier. Luo Changwu had just advanced to the Earth tier, but his aura had still injured Long Chen back then. That was enough to show Long Chen the gap between them. So, considering that the formation would summon elites amongst elites, Long Chen definitely didn't want to mess around with them. Thus, for now, this training was useless for him. He had to think of something else. He then went to the Academy's palace. The various elders were usually here. When Long Chen appeared, Heaven Master Yunyang said, "Dean, you told us to keep an eye on any movements throughout the various domains. Lately, there have been some unfavorable affairs going on." "What happened?" asked Long Chen. "Lately, some rumors have been running rampant due to certain people promoting them. The news of you being an underworld ghost seed has spread far and wide," said Heaven Master Yunyang. Long Chen brushed it off. Does Imputa have no other ideas? This kind of rumor can simply be ignored. Long Chen knew that his heart devil that erupted in the battle of the heavenly rainbow domain and the sinister dark energy that came from his purgatory eyes further promoted the rumor that he was an underworld ghost seed. With Jiang Weizhong starting the rumor and the support of countless powers behind it, quite a few people started to agree with the rumor. The dark energy that Long Chen had displayed was the greatest proof. Explaining it was meaningless, so only time would tell. However, Imputa's scheme does not stop there. Heaven Master Yunyang shook his head gravely. Heaven Master Dongming continued, "Due to the rumors growing more popular, the heavenly rainbow domain's experts are refuting it for you. Some people then said that these experts have been tricked by you. Even the heavenly rainbow fairy was tricked by you according to them. However, due to the schemers dragging in the name of the heavenly rainbow fairy, the heavenly rainbow domain's experts were infuriated and several clashes occurred. A few immortal kings of the heavenly rainbow domain have been slain. Just yesterday, they lost 17 experts on the level of sect leaders." Bang! Long Chen slammed his hand on the table, ashen with rage. Fortunately, the table was solid enough that it didn't break. Courting death. Long Chen was enraged. He had underestimated the shamelessness of the 9 Underworld Hall and the Blood Kill Hall. They were borrowing these rumors to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. The heavenly rainbow domain's experts had become their target. Using these bloody methods, they would make anyone who spoke against their rumors shut their mouths, which then allowed them to successfully turn white into black, false into true. "Long Chen, this is very likely a trap for you," said Bai Shishir when she saw how enraged Long Chen was. "It's not likely, it definitely is. They can't touch the 7th Branch Academy, so they have to force me out. Prepare to move out." "We're going to the heavenly rainbow domain," said Long Chen. "You're going to go even though it's a trap?" exclaimed Bai Shishir. "Even if it's a trap, I have to go." Killing a portion of the heavenly rainbow domain's experts is just their first step. Their next step is to start a large-scale slaughter of the heavenly rainbow domain's experts. If they still don't force me out, they'll just keep killing. If I still don't come out, they'll say that I watched as the heavenly rainbow domain's experts died without saving them. Clearly, I must have a guilty conscience over being an underworld ghost seed. Eventually, the entire academy will be dragged into it due to harboring me, an underworld ghost seed. "How can I not go?" said Long Chen. This trap is so evil." Bai Shishir's expression changed. She hadn't considered this far. But now that Long Chen said this, she felt cold sweat on her back. "Dean, this matter is too dangerous. We should report it to the main academy," said an experienced elder. "Our 7th Branch Academy is an independent force. We need to rely on ourselves to handle most things. After I leave, don't worry about wasting resources. Activate the formation to its full power and hunker down to avoid them luring a tiger from the mountain in order to destroy the mountain." After saying that, Long Chen directly left with Bai Shishir, Bai Xiaola, Qin Feng, Qi Yu, and Su Zixiong. They stepped into the transportation formation and space shuddered intensely. They were directly sent to the heavenly rainbow domain. However, there was no corresponding transportation formation in the heavenly rainbow domain connecting to the 7th Branch Academy. This transportation formation had simply sent them in the right direction. With no fixed node, although they managed to reach the heavenly rainbow domain, their exact location could not be accurately controlled. The capital was still quite far. This time, They saw no auspicious rainbow light in the heavenly rainbow domain. This entire domain seemed to have become dark, and there was also a strange murderous aura hanging within the air. A golden war chariot rumbled through the air. This was by Shirshir's special chariot. Originally, this chariot was only lent to by Shirshir, and it was under the Academy's control. This golden war chariot was actually a king item. The Academy permitted by Shirshir to use it partially because by Shirshir paid a high rent and also due to some secret special treatment. This golden war chariot silently assisted by Shirshir's cultivation, but she was entirely unaware of it. She only liked it because it raised her core energy. Before by Shirshir's mother departed, she had formally gifted the golden war chariot to her daughter. It was now her personal item and could be freely used. The golden war chariot rumbled through the air like a golden shooting star. They quickly saw the city in the distance. However, when they saw the city, killing intent exploded out of Long Chen's eyes. Even Qin Feng, Qi Yu, and the others clenched their weapons tightly. The once glorious city was now in a wretched state. Many of its tall buildings were destroyed, with desolation and ruins as far as the eye could see. Such a perfect city was practically in ruins. The new statue had also been smashed, and there was blood on the ground. Long Chen was one step too late. A great battle had just occurred here. Although the corpses had been taken away, the bloodstains had yet to dry. The golden war chariot descended upon the city with no formation stopping them. The formation had clearly been destroyed. Within the city, they heard countless cries of agony and curses of hatred. Just a few hours ago, countless assassins had flooded the ancient city, killing their top experts. When they managed to launch a counterattack, they weren't even able to grasp their opponent's shadow. They could only watch as their own sect leaders and sect masters were killed by black-robed assassins. They could only witness the new statue of their goddess being destroyed. They were powerless to do anything, so countless people roared like beasts. They couldn't even find their enemies. They were filled with hatred. They knew that these people had to have come from the 9 Underworld Hall and the Bloodkill Hall. They wanted revenge. When they saw Long Chen step out of the golden war chariot, countless experts knelt toward him. Dean Long Chen, you must get vengeance for us. Our elders, these experts were unable to even speak clearly through their sobbing. Countless people of virtue and great reputation, the elders that they loved, they were all killed and these people were powerless to stop it. This started because of me. I will definitely give the heavenly rainbow domain an explanation. Long Chen's killing intent exploded. It seemed that he had underestimated Imputa. Or perhaps it should be said that he had underestimated just how despicable the 9 Underworld Hall and the Bloodkill Hall could be, as well as just how big their guts were. They truly did use any means necessary to achieve their goals, having no misgivings. Shameless things, come out and face your death. Long Chen suddenly roared. Like a god roaring, his voice was the only thing filling the 9 heavens. Come out and face your death. Come out and face your death. Come out and face your death. His voice echoed, resounding with killing intent, but no one responded. Long Chen suddenly moved, unleashing a punch on nothing but air. As a result, space collapsed and a chi wave erupted like a furious dragon. In the distance, space exploded. A figure that was hacking up blood was forced out of the void. A masked expert was forced out of the void. The next instant, Long Chen's figure was already shooting toward him. Before that person could react, a hand clawed onto his head. This person was an immortal king but only at the mortal tier. He unleashed his immortal king aura to force Long Chen back, but unfortunately for him, that little aura was nothing to Long Chen. Let alone a mortal tier immortal king, even a spirit tier immortal king could simply be ignored by the current Long Chen. That person didn't even have a chance to take out his weapon. Blood spurted out of his head as Long Chen's fingers pierced into his head. Soul tracing source. The assassin's Yuan spirit exploded. Using his Yuan spirit as a vector, Long Chen used a secret art. Countless illusory figures then appeared in the air. These figures were originally perfectly hidden in the void. No one had been able to even notice them. But after Long Chen detonated that person's Yuan spirit, he used it to find those with similar cultivation technique fluctuations, revealing them. Up in the air and within the ruins were thousands of hidden experts. Although they had been revealed, it was just due to a secret art, allowing people to see their vague figures, but not their facial features nor their cultivation bases. However, that was enough. When they saw those figures, the Heavenly Rainbow Domain's experts went crazy and charged at those despicable assassins. The assassins themselves were also startled. They hadn't expected Long Chen to have such a technique. This was a technique that Long Chen had learned while going through the pavilions of the main academy. At that time, he had felt that this technique was made perfectly to counter the Bloodkill Hall. But he had never used it before. The Bloodkill Hall's experts would be immediately noticed by him unless they posed no killing intent to him. Otherwise, no matter how they concealed themselves, they couldn't escape the senses of the 9-star Hegemon body art. Now that he finally used it, the hidden assassins were all forced out. Boom. As Long Chen waved his hand, a flame prison appeared, sealing this entire space. It rapidly shrank. As it shrank, a figure appeared within it. It was another masked expert, but his aura was different from these assassins of the Bloodkill Hall. Die! Long Chen clenched his hand, and the flame prison instantly shrank to the size of a fist around that person. He was instantly crushed and incinerated. At the same time, countless more figures appeared. Their number was no fewer than the experts of the Bloodkill Hall that were forced out. 9 underworld hunters. A vein throbbed on Long Chen's forehead and killing intent exploded out of him. The 9 underworld hall and the Bloodkill Hall had joined forces against him. Kill! Seeing these people, Qin Feng roared and charged out. The closest mortal tier Immortal King of the Bloodkill Hall was directly hacked apart by him. The current Qin Feng was very powerful. He was truly capable of being classified as a first-rate expert. Even fighting across 2 realms, he easily killed a mortal tier Immortal King. Warriors of the Heavenly Rainbow Domain, quickly leave this place. There's no need for any senseless sacrifices. The future Heavenly Rainbow Domain needs you to rebuild it. The Heavenly Rainbow Fairy's soul flame needs you. You still have a purpose, so you cannot throw away your lives for nothing. Long Chen shouted. The Heavenly Rainbow Domain's experts were charging at those assassins to avenge their seniors, but they weren't a match for the assassins. They began to fall. Long Chen's voice resounded throughout the ancient city. Those experts still had red eyes, but they chose to listen to his orders. They no longer made any senseless sacrifices and retreated from the battlefield. After seeing Long Chen's fight against the experts of other domains, they knew that they would only get in his way. He wouldn't be able to unleash his full power for fear of harming them, while his enemies would have no such misgivings. Long Chen, is it? I will dash. A spirit-tier Immortal King with the mark of the 9 Underworld Hall appeared right in front of Long Chen, but only just for a moment before he suddenly vanished. Long Chen simply swung his hand. A lotus mark appeared on his palm, and space twisted. After that, blood mist filled the air. He had slapped that Immortal King to death. This person had severely underestimated Long Chen's combat experience. Normally, he would split himself into 8 figures and attack from 8 different directions. A normal person would definitely try to deduce which of the 8 bodies was real. Every single one of those 8 bodies could instantly switch with the real body, and as soon as his opponent chose the wrong one, they would die. However, against Long Chen, he had chosen to use the most simple and direct technique. Those 8 figures were all fake, and he launched a frontal attack while hidden in the void. Just as Long Chen thought to handle the 8 fakes, the assassin would kill him. However, Long Chen had ignored those 8 figures and directly slapped his true body. Hidden in the void, his power was suppressed. As a result, a spirit-tier Immortal King of the 9 Underworld Hall, someone who had killed countless people in his lifetime, died without understanding how Long Chen hadn't fallen for his technique. Naturally, Long Chen wouldn't be able to fall for it even if he wanted to. That person had the blood of the 9-star heirs on him. It was even easier for Long Chen to sense him than the assassins of the Bloodkill Hall. Kill! Once that spirit-tier Immortal King was slain, All the surrounding 9 Underworld Hall and Bloodkill Hall experts charged at Long Chen. Divine Ring. Battle Armor. Long Chen roared. The next moment, his divine ring appeared with a star diagram inside it and golden scales covered his body. A violent chi wave erupted along with chilling killing intent. Boom. Long Chen slashed his saber down. The front few spirit tier immortal kings were directly blown back, hacking up blood. Despite being spirit tier immortal kings, their power was far inferior to the ones replicated by the Academy's training ground. Even over 10 of them combined were unable to stop Long Chen's attack. After one swing of Long Chen's saber, another flame lotus appeared in his left hand. He then unleashed a palm that caused the void to explode. Flames devoured half the sky. Ah! The spirit tier immortal kings within that region screamed miserably and flew out, their bodies covered in flames. They were turned into roasted pigs. As for mortal tier immortal kings, they were directly incinerated. After that, Long Chen swept his saber out, and a mass of assassins were directly slain. Long Chen shot through the air, becoming a life-reaping devil king. Wherever he went, the assassins were killed. On the other side, Bai Shishir had a golden lotus beneath her feet. Her golden sword came out of its sheath, and anyone who blocked her was killed. Her attacks were even sharper than Long Chen's. Boom! Suddenly, the world shook and a ray of divine light descended from the 9 heavens, enveloping the entire city. Long Chen, is it? Interesting. You killed Tiana. I will face you today. A cold and arrogant voice rang out from the heavens. Favorite. The divine light descended from the heavens. Bai Shishir and the others were shocked to find that the area enveloped by the divine light was separated from the rest of the world. It really is a trap. Bai Shishir's expression changed. Although she had been mentally prepared, she still had a bad feeling. Thousands of assassins of the Bloodkill Hall and the 9 Underworld Hall were almost wiped out. Everything was too simple, too easy. It was like they were just bait. To use thousands of immortal kings as bait, with even spirit-tier immortal kings amongst them, wasn't this bait a bit too generous? It really is a trap. Look, the blood-soul energy of the slain assassins is gone. This light was summoned using their blood-soul power, said Qin Feng. How ruthless! They intentionally had us kill them just to summon this light. They're willing to pay a bloody price. Bai Xiaola stuck out his tongue. This was way too exaggerated. Since when did the lives of immortal kings become so worthless? Following that icy voice, 5 figures slowly descended from the heavens. Earth-tier immortal kings. Bai Shishir's heart jumped. Amongst the 5 of them, 4 of them were elders with auras as vast as seas. The auras were so heavy that everyone had difficulty breathing. They were Earth-tier immortal kings. This was Bai Shishir's first time seeing an Earth-tier immortal king. She was unaware that her mother and father were Heaven-tier immortal kings because they had sealed their auras. Only Long Chen had seen some clues and knew about it. The 4 of them emitted such an immense pressure that faint threads appeared within heaven and earth. Their pressure caused even space to freeze. Furthermore, the 4 of them were standing behind a young man. This was a fair-faced man in black robes, and a demonic light shone in his eyes. He was at the peak of the 4-peak realm. His aura seemed to be on the verge of breaking through at any moment to the Divine Lord realm. Although he was only in the 4-peak realm, the sense of danger that this person gave off was not at all inferior to those 4 Earth-tier immortal kings. Most importantly, the 4 Earth-tier immortal kings were standing behind him. He was the leader, so his status was clearly extraordinary. Long Chen's saber swung, killing 2 immortal kings who thought that they had managed to escape death. Long Chen cut them in 2, and their corpses fell to the ground, their Yuan spirits dead. With a swing of his saber, the blood slid off, leaving the saber as white as pure jade. Resting his saber on his shoulder, he looked at the 5 of them without the slightest shock. It was as if this was all within his expectations. I asked you a question. Are you mute? Asked the young man after he saw Long Chen's cold indifference. It seemed that this wasn't the effect that he had anticipated. Long Chun stared at the young man, feeling the resentment of hundreds of 9-star heirs on him. The young man's hands were covered in the 9-star heirs' blood. 9 underworld hunters lived to kill 9-star heirs, viewing them as prey. Moreover, they used their prey's heads to gain status and rewards. They were slaughterers. This person had the most resentment on his hands out of all 9 underworld hunters that Long Chen had ever encountered. Long Chen only had one thought in his mind when he saw this young man. Kill him. Avenge the 9-star heirs. Are you blind? Can you not see that I am the Dean? If you know the answer, why ask? Said Long Chen coldly. Dean? Ha, good, very good. I like that status. After I kill you, I think I can get a reward comparable to killing a few 9-star heirs. The young man laughed arrogantly, seemingly not placing Long Chen in his eyes. Long Chen sneered. I heard that you hunt down 9-star heirs while relying on a realm advantage. You don't even dare to fight them in the same realm. Even if you are in the same realm, you use numbers to bully them. If it was a 1-against-1, 9-star heirs would kick the crap out of you. Is that information correct? This wasn't something that Long Chen had heard. He just guessed it. There were no historical records of 9-star heirs, and their stories were only passed down from mouth to mouth. However, considering how powerful a 9-star heir was, the 9 underworld hunters would have to pay a heavy price to kill them. In fact, many 9 underworld hunters fell to their prey's final struggle. Thus, they most likely fought in groups against a 9-star heir or used higher realms to suppress them. Otherwise, they couldn't possibly kill the 9-star heirs. Bullshit. That's absolute nonsense. The young man was enraged and he flatly denied it. But his expression seemed to be proof of it. Seeing Long Chen's cold gaze, that man was enraged. It felt like his lie was seen through, embarrassing him. Long Chen's words had clearly touched a sore spot. It wasn't just his expression that was ugly. The 4 Earth-tier Immortal Kings also had surging killing intent in their eyes. Long Chen smiled. As expected, the rumors are true. You 9 underworld hunters are cowards who only know how to use numbers to bully others. I suppose it's just like the hyenas of the plains. You're both despicable animals who use any means necessary to feed yourselves. Although the 9-star heirs were slain by you, they were true heroes, while you are simply cowardly trash. The likes of you can be called an assassin? What a joke. You're practically an insult to that title. The Shadow Sect is the home of true assassins, kings of the night. But you lot are such trash that I'll ask you to stop calling yourselves assassins. Really, you're simply insulting real assassins. Every single one of Long Chen's words was like poison arrows shooting into their hearts. The 5 of them felt like they might explode. These were the words that they hated the most. That was because every time they hunted 9-star heirs, they always mobilized over 100 people and had experts across realms as well. Even 1 against 100, the 9-star heirs sometimes had the power to kill all of them, even though some of the most outstanding talents of the 9 underworld hall were present. Thus, they usually had seniors who first injured the 9-star heirs or used secret arts to limit their power. They were truly willing to use any means necessary to kill 9-star heirs. Of course, to the public, they announced that they always killed the 9-star heirs in a 1-against-1. But that was simply them pasting gold on their faces. Now that this guilt was mercilessly torn off by Long Chen, they were embarrassed. The young man darkly said, I used my own power to kill 437 9-star heirs. Since you dare to question me, I'll show you the power that I used so that you can die fully convinced. His arms shook, blasting off his sleeves. After that, dual daggers with a flickering blue light on them appeared in his hands. They were like the fangs of a viper pointed at Long Chen. Favorite. When the 2 daggers appeared, an icy light filled the world, causing the temperature to plummet. It was like winter had suddenly come, freezing people's souls. These are called ice fangs, weapons that went down in history as fearful existences. I rarely use them, because they only drink the blood of 9-star heirs. Only 9-star heirs are fit for me to use them. You should feel greatly honored that I'm using them on you, said that man. The daggers were quivering like bees flapping their wings. They left marks on space. With every quiver, the angle of the daggers changed like vipers swaying to and fro, looking for the optimal angle to attack. Just by looking at them, people's souls quivered. This was a pair of true killer divine weapons. So what? Wouldn't you still die in a 1-against-1 with a 9-star heir? Is it something to be proud of to kill 9-star heirs with shameless means? Sneered Longchen. Shut up. I, young Master Guyu, basically always fight 9-star heirs in fair 1-against-1s. Shouted that 9-star hunter. Longchen narrowed his eyes. All these provocations were just to bait out some information about 9-star heirs. The 9-star heir that Longchen had encountered on the Martial Heaven continent was nothing more than a trace of some remnant will. It was impossible to judge a 9-star heir's true power from that. As for Longchen himself, he had taken the 9-star Hegemon body art on a different path. He didn't know if it was good or bad, so he needed a general assessment. Longchen sneered, basically? So you really can't beat 9-star heirs. You always have to use numbers or seniors to beat them. Am I wrong? Guyu clenched his teeth furiously. I can't be bothered to argue with an ant like you. Do you even realize that you are already dead? No one can save you. There's no need for me to even attack you. The only reason I came was to see just who the Hall Master cared so much about. You are a tortoise caught in a jar, but you still boast so shamelessly and arrogantly. Do you know how foolish that is? The barrier had been activated and 4 Earth-tier Immortal Kings had descended. That was truly enough power to kill Longchen. Even if Bai Zhantang and the others departed now, they wouldn't come in time. However, Longchen still fearlessly tapped his saber on his shoulder, indifferently saying, Tell me, what rank on the Heaven Fiend rankings you are for you to be so arrogant? On the Heaven Fiend rankings, other than the 9 Underworld Azura, I'm not afraid of anyone. So why don't you tell me what rank I am? Said Guyu arrogantly. Is being second really so great? Sneered Longchen. That's why I said you're a fool. Do you know what the name of 9 Underworld Azura signifies? To use the name of the 9 Underworld is a supreme glory and privilege. That is an existence with the karmic luck of millions concentrated within her. Ants like you and I cannot compare to her. 9-star heirs are only slightly bigger rabbits before her, so you aren't qualified to talk about her, sneered Guyu. This was surprising to Longchen. It seemed that Guyu truly felt great respect for this 9 Underworld Azura. For him to even call himself an ant was outside of Longchen's expectations. In other words, Guyu was ranked 2 on the Heaven Fiend rankings, while that mysterious 9 Underworld Azura was ranked 1, and also far above him in power. The only information Longchen had about these so-called Heaven Fiend rankings came from the battle in the Heavenly Rainbow domain. One of the top experts had been cowed by the name of this ranking and retreated. So, those on this ranking clearly weren't ordinary. From Guyu's mouth, it seemed that there was a huge difference between rank 1 and rank 2. They were incomparable. Longchen's heart shook slightly. It seemed that this 9 Underworld Azura was truly terrifying. Guyu sneered, I am already at the Great Circle of 4 Peak. If I were to advance to the Divine Lord Realm, I wouldn't even bother coming here to kill you. Now you should understand just how worthless you are in my eyes, right? So that's the case. Then your choice is very wise. Longchen nodded. It seems that you came to challenge me so that if you won, you could use that burst of energy to perfectly rise to the Divine Lord Realm. The reason I praise you though is because now that you've come, there's no need for you to leave alive. A dead person doesn't need to worry about advancing. Haha. Guyu laughed furiously. Fool. You still haven't seen why I'm wasting time talking to you? You're the fool. Do you think that I can't see the barrier changing? Retorted Longchen. Only then did Bai Shirshir and the others notice strange marks appearing on the barrier. Furthermore, the people outside the barrier had already vanished, and mist covered the surroundings, making it impossible for them to see anything. Within the barrier, nothing had changed. But as Bai Xiaola's 3 flower pupils revolved, his expression changed. We are separated from the outside world by some energy. Those people are still there, but they no longer seem real. It's like we're in a different space-time. When it came to spatial arts, no one knew more than Bai Xiaola here. But clearly, this barrier had exceeded the scope of his current understanding. Where did they go? Qin Feng suddenly noted that the dozens of immortal kings still remaining when Gu Yu and the others descended were gone. They're already dead. Bai Shirsher looked toward a group of corpses in the distance. She felt a chill. Those people hid in a corner when the barrier came down. But they had become withered corpses for some reason. Their blood-soul energy was sucked away. Bai Shirsher and the others looked at those corpses and then at the spatial barrier around them. This barrier was made with their blood and souls? An unbelievable thought appeared in their minds. If that was true, it really was ruthless. A barrier created by sacrificing thousands of immortal kings. Right now, the only comforting thing was that Long Chen was still icily calm, as if he had been prepared from the start for such a thing. That was all that prevented them from panicking. Do you know what price you'll have to pay for your foolishness? If you hadn't wasted time talking, you would only have been slain. Now that the barrier is complete, you won't be able to die even if you beg, laughed Gu Yu, sounding very pleased. A senior told me that any scheme is meaningless in front of absolute power. Today, I will use the bone saber in my hand to demonstrate the truth of his words. As Long Chen raised his saber, a giant saber image tore into the heavens. All the murderous air of heaven and earth was sucked inside the saber without leaving a drop. After that, the bone saber slashed down, shaking the river of stars and causing the world to change color. Split the heavens. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.